How's it going, everybody? I'm Kyle from Fantasy Forge Studios, and we are back with another episode of Adventures in Middle-earth, our D&D 5e campaign set in the world of Middle-earth, taking place between the years of The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. We are joined for our second of four, technically, but second of three for this group of one-shots, starting off with Jessamine Sackville Baggins. Very excited to be able to jump into her whole holiday phase and fellowship and see what's going to be going down. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and have Jess. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I am SpiderFan33 in the Twitch chat, Leah, or I play Jessamine Sackville Baggins, the adorable little wholesome one of the party, I would say. Not so
agree.
wholesome sometimes. Yeah, well, she has her moments when she's not persuading goblins to enter into a civil war. She can be quite sweet. Sweet when she's cooking, she loves to cook, but a little bit ruthless and conniving on the battlefield, or if you have something shiny that she wants. You know, that's just how she is. Also, don't mention Bilbo to her because she hates his guts.
Which is why she loves staying at the Easterly Inn, of course.
I like to think that the Easterly Inn became a sanctuary against Jess's wishes.
The nice thing about the Easterly Inn is at least there's a standing room for Jess, if nice hobbit-size room for Jess.
Exactly, and it's hobbit size.
Exactly, something comfortable that reminds her of home, with the exception of maybe Bindi.
Reminds her a bit too much of home, shall we say?
Yeah, exactly. But we're very excited.
If you want more context on any of what we're saying, you should go back and watch the YouTube videos.
There's no link, so I don't know why I'm pointing, but go watch YouTube. It'll be great.
Oh, hang on. Yeah. I'll drop a link in
there we go.
The chat. Yeah.
This direction. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just
At least for me, it's this direction.
It's around here somewhere.
It's somewhere.
Down. It's down if you're on
mobile.
On mobile, but if you're on PC, then it'll show up on either one of those sites.
Perfect.
All set to say, welcome to another session of AME.
Exactly. Very excited to jump into this Yule phase. The Yule phase in Adventures in Middle-earth, for those who don't know, is an extended fellowship phase. And so essentially what that means is that they are going to be spending a much larger time between adventures to go do and accomplish whatever they want to do. And that's not necessarily as a party, as we're seeing. We are focusing solely today on Jess's adventures going forward here, and so we get to see what happens. But a little bit about me. I'm Kyle. I am the lore master here at Fantasy Forge Studios, and also helping to DM and kind of, tell the stories, help to write the narratives of the characters and the events that are happening in Middle-earth during this time. I'm here to both play with and against these players, but most importantly, here to kind of narrate how they are affecting the world and just having fun too. It's always a great time to be able to sit down and dedicate weekly Wednesday nights to Adventures in Middle-earth. It's super exciting, and I'm very keen to jump in. But a little bit of review, specifically things pertaining to Jess before we do dive in. So they had just completed, the party as a whole had just completed their second adventure. However, this is the completion of Jess's very first adventure with the party. The group had met her at the Easterly Inn after they had escaped the wayward elves in Mirkwood. And so, making their way down there, they met Jessamine Sackville Baggins, a relative of Bilbo Baggins, and as we had just heard, much to her disdain. But she is here and is part of this adventuring party, made her way down already to Woodland Hall as a part of the company, and made some fast friends, good impressions, even participated in the Folkmoot that happened, a gathering of all the Woodman people, which includes Woodman Hall, Woodman Town, Mountain Hall, and the Rowanhold from Galavira, the Black Tarn, and then the East Bite as well, and the newly appointed, I guess East Bite's newly appointed, but also the newly appointed Tyrant's Hill and Mogdred there. And so after all those events, they received word from Dodie Brandybuck that they, Dindy, the brother of Dodie, who runs the Easterly Inn, is a hobbit from the Shire, had not returned. And so they were whisked off on adventure, carried by a letter by Shadrach, all the way up to the High Pass, which, for those who don't know, let me go ahead and pull over this map. They were down here, kind of in the Roscabel area. They made their way all the way up to the High Pass, where they eventually did find Dindy and company, and they were able to rescue him by fighting off orcs, goblins, making their way into the goblin tunnels, and exploring underneath the mountains. Kind of a different experience, especially for a fresh-eyed adventurer such as Jess, but she did amazing work in the goblin tunnels, being deceptive and well, let's just say conniving. It was great. It was a wonderful thing to behold. And in the process, they were able to rescue Dindy, who had been taken down into the Goblin Caverns. And so with that, they fled, making their way back to the Easterly Inn, where the group promised to reconvene in the spring. But for now, everybody has decided to go their separate ways during this Yule phase, during the winter seasons. They have their own tasks in order to accomplish. But at the Easterly Inn, as mentioned, it is Jess's home away from home. We're going to go ahead and bring everything there. But before we do anything, Jess, I'm going to have you roll your new hit points for your newly gained level. So the party is now level 4. What that means is they gain a cultural virtue, and they additionally get an increase to their hit points as per usual in D&D. And so the way we're doing it is we're doing based off of your hit dice. You roll and then add your constitution modifier to it, and that's going to be added to your no total. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you, Jess. If you would go ahead and roll your, I believe it's a D, what is it?
It's D8.
D8 plus your con, which is 0, I think.
Yeah, it is a +0, so just
All right.
whatever I roll. Right.
Here we go. And if anybody does have a inspiration that they do want to use, you can. But she can also just have it and keep it for later.
I already have an inspiration mark.
So you can use it if you don't like your result.
Don't waste. Okay, first roll of the year. Let's go. 5. I will keep a 5. I think that's pretty okay.
That is really good. Hey, that's on the upper half of that spectrum. So we love it. We like to see it.
Sure.
And especially Jess being Jess, you're probably not going to be the target of too many attacks. So it's probably okay to have. I guess you're about probably as thick as Theodric. Theodric rolled really well last time, but he has been struggling with his HP rolls, but he's doing a little bit better now. But yeah, you're probably about neck and neck with him with that, so that's good. now we have Valinith just sitting at very low hit points, at least for now. So
at least for now.
At least for now, we'll see.
Yeah, so I have 23.
23 hit points. Love to see it. With that being the case, the Easterly Inn and everything that has happened since the return of the company. So towards the end of September, by the time that Jess, Feanor, Dindy, and Theodric were able to reconvene with Valinith and the rest of the crew that was saved, there have been a ton of events that have happened. They pretty much Valinith and Feanor stayed for the very first part of the funeral for Andy, and also for just kind of resting and rejuvenation before both Feanor and Valinith decided to make their way back towards the High Pass, with their eyes set towards Rivendell and beyond. Theodric did stay a little bit extra with you, resting, but eventually he did get restless. There's been something that's been sitting in the back of his mind. If you haven't seen last session, go ahead and check that out. I think it is posted on YouTube. If not, check it out on our Twitch page. It was last week, so it should still be there. But without spoiling too much, he decided to make a journey up to the Vales of Gundabad in early October. He decided to make his way up where it started to become quite wintry indeed. And with that being the case, that left Jess. Jess, by her lonesome, not necessarily, with other hobbits, and the rare guests that would come here and there at the Easterly Inn, where Jess, you are there reconvening, trying to figure out your plans and your next steps about what to do. Osred the Rider, so he is one of the Beornings, he did come and give you a sack of silver pennies worth 14 silver pennies. And as explained last time, it was thanks to your efforts that the goblins have started to flood out of the Misty Mountains in relative chaos. And that has left Beornings to be able to take care of them as they guard the Anduin Vales. But because of your efforts, they have essentially given you silver that has been on the persons of the goblins for you and the rest of the company. So 14 silver pieces, you can add that to your inventory.
I've made bank. I have so much money.
That's great.
Perfect. No, this is good. This is great. Okay, quick question to you, Carl, before we go any further. Do I do the rest of my level 4 level up now?
Yeah,
or...
you can do that now. You can even include your feature. Just if there's an opportunity to use it, you won't be using it. Your cultural virtue. So.
Oh, cultural virtue. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna.
Everything else, you are totally good to have. You have it all.
Okay, cool. Alright, I'm gonna do an ability score improvement, I think. Let's see. I put one in wisdom and then the other one in dexterity.
So you have a choice between the ability score improvement or the cultural virtue.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's either like a feature, which is like in D&D, it's typically like a feature, but the cultural virtue or the choice of the stat improvement.
Oh, that's okay. I will do the feature then.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All I have to say is playing Baldur's Gate has really helped me with some of this, with some remembering some of the.
It really does.
D&D
like
rules. It does. I'm just sitting here. I just leveled up today, and I was just like, "Hey, this is awesome!" And so,
yeah, no, they make it super easy too. Oh man, don't get me started on Baldur's Gate 3. I was playing it earlier today, and I have thoughts, but I'm only like towards the end of Act 2, so.
That's awesome. Hey, you're catching up to me, so that's good.
Slowly but surely.
Slowly but surely. I'm taking my sweet time, apparently. But with that being,
that's incredibly normal. Sorry, we're gonna get distracted. No, yeah.
I know it's so easy. I mean, it's on topic, kind of. But with that being the case, as the early part of October has begun to kind of come to a close, and we're reaching kind of the middling days of October, you notice that it starts to get a little bit colder, which kind of stirs something in you about what your future plans are and what you want to do going forward. Basically not just sticking here at the Easterly Inn until everybody reconvenes in the springtime. That being said, I'm gonna have you make a perception check for me.
Ooh, okay, spicy. My perception check is so good. 7.
One of the things that you have noticed, especially from it kind of started a couple of days after the departure of Theodric. It's really the first time that you have kind of started settling back into normal life, at least normal life before your truly first adventure. And it seems strange. It seems off. It doesn't seem normal. there's kind of like this unscratchable itch that is kind of taken at the back of your brain, and this has actually begun to manifest itself in dreams. Your dreams are every now and then you'll have dreams of home and the things of normal, but you're more and more starting to think about the world on the outside, aspirations about where to go next, what to explore, but more importantly, you find yourself constantly drawn back to specifically the goblin tunnels. And more specifically than that, the random tapping noises that you heard during your exploration down beneath. These tapping noises, there was something that was odd about them to begin with, and maybe Feanor thought that they were kind of no big deal, but there was something that was seriously eerie about them. And as you progress night by night, these tapping noises have begun to grow louder. And almost as if you're in these caves and you are being stalked by something, tracked by something. About the fourth night in that you are having these dreams, you start to begin to hear deep growls. These growls are of something that is large, and the tapping itself has started to become probably what would be more akin to the sound of like claws against stone. I'm gonna have you make a wisdom saving throw for me.
Natty 1 for a total of 0.
Nat 1. This is perturbing. It's one of those things that as you are...
Wait, hang on. Is this a wisdom save against shadow?
It is not against shadow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're not gonna gain points of shadow from this, but it's something. Yeah, it's something that is continually haunting you, and actually, as you wake up each morning, and I think a lot of people can relate to this just normally outside a game, but like your perception of the world has started to begin to change. Like you wake up in the same bed that you're normally in, but everything feels off. Everything feels weird. As you go about your day, you notice that there are just like. You don't hear the sound of birds anymore. Maybe it's maybe it's just like the fact that it's becoming winter and there aren't as many birds, or you have no idea, but things just seem off. Dodie doesn't seem quite as chipper. Dindy has recovered, but not as much as you would like him to. Agatha seems busy and hectic and just at work taking care of the kids, but also cooking up a storm for whatever guests do come. But the one thing that really throws you off is seeing the interaction between Rufus and Shadrach. I'm gonna have you make a perception check for me. Or investigation.
I am slightly better at perception.
Alright.
Dirty 20.
Dirty 20.
Mm.
This is something that since your dreams have started, you've also noticed Shadrach become very different. With that really good roll, you've begun to notice even the most nuanced things that have begun to change with him. He paces around nervously. He spends most of his time outside and not inside helping out around the place, which is kind of odd, but he spends most of his time outside sniffing around the bases of trees that are around the perimeter of just the general area, like the lawn and everything around. He also stares blankly for minutes at a time, looking at the direction of the stone footbridge that leads its way over the small little creek on the wooded area into the property of the Easterly Inn, and it's completely undisturbed. He'll just stare blankly out there. He doesn't walk on his hind legs. He actually, since this time, he hasn't once walked on his hind legs during this time. He is, in all intents and purposes, actually becoming more dog-like. You see him and Rufus, the big differences between them aren't as stark or as big, and he's starting to kind of act a little bit more like that. However, most suspicious of all is every single night, probably starting around 9:30 p.m., he grabs you by your skirt and rushes you off to bed, almost as if to set you up for the night. He does his normal where he brings you a nice hot cup of, basically a nice hot cup bottle of water, some tea, and a few snacks just in case you get hungry. But he does that much earlier than he normally does, where normally he would just wait for you to do so. How are you reacting to this? This is definitely something that is very evident and you have noticed.
Yeah, it's very concerning. I think, like, on this particular night, as he's, like, getting me settled into bed, I'll just, like, you know, pet him gently, grab him by the ears, like, sort of look into his eyes, and I'm just like, Shadrach, you're not behaving like yourself. What's wrong, buddy?
Make a nature or insight check for me.
Okay. I'll go with insights. Not very helpful. What the hell? I'll use my inspiration.
Okay.
That's worse somehow. 4.
4. You look into his deep black eyes, and he stares at you, but you're unable to really detect much sign of anything outside of maybe a hint of sadness, perhaps. But he looks at you, and he kind of whines a little bit, kind of like like you have no idea. Perhaps this could be like, I'm okay, or just like, I'm not okay. It's really difficult to tell. He's shaking a little bit as you do pet him, though, and give him scratches. He seems to take it in, and he enjoys it. And but as you do so and you kind of let go of him, he leaves almost immediately, darting towards the front room of the main door of the Easterly Inn.
Can I follow him and see what he does? Like, I don't actually want to go into the front room, but like,
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that the Easterly Inn and all the rooms are set up is you have the main kind of like people-sized rooms and kind of like an upstairs area, and then you have to go outside in order to go into kind of like the cozy hobbit holes that are there. So they're kind of like separately detached. And so as you open the door, are you trying to do this stealth?
I don't know. I just wanted to like look into a window or something.
Oh, yeah. So there's definitely a window that has the view of it. You do so. You don't need to make a perception check or anything. You see that he goes up to the front of the window, or not the front of the window, the front of the main door. He turns around and he like sniffs up in the air and then jumps up onto the door and uses his paws to turn the handle as he goes in, and immediately it closes behind. I'm gonna have you make a perception check for me as you listen to hear to see if you hear anything.
Natural 20 for 21.
You do. You actually hear Agatha say, "Oh, what's gotten into you, Shadrach? Poor little fellow. Are you missing your friends?" And she sits down. You can see her in the window at this point, and Dodie comes over and says, "Oh, don't you worry about old Shadrach. It's just the weather. It's probably hay fever or something. Can dogs catch hay fever? Something I need to ask her."
I leave.
Perfect. And as you make your way back into your room and everything, you are greeted by warmth. There's a small little fire that's going in a little fireplace that is set up in the corner, and you have plenty of firewood to be able to stoke. It's definitely starting to get into those months. Is there anything that you want to do this night before you do head to sleep?
Not particularly, just like mulling a few things over, like worried about these dreams, worried about Shadrach, and just sort of like going through this pretty wild adventure that I had like in my mind, just turning it over.
And it's genuinely a lot. This is something that, believe it or not, the adventure was successful, but it weighs heavy on you. There's this spiritual burden that begins to weigh. But as you do so, and you sit by the crackling fire, eventually turning in to bed for the evening, you have a couple sips of tea, and you close your eyes. Even in your dreams, it doesn't seem quite as happy and enchanting of a time. And without further ado, you're actually sucked back into the goblin tunnels as well. This time it's a little bit different. It's not your typical wandering. It's not the tapping. You find yourself face to face, alone at this time, with the giant hole, the one that you almost fell down as you attempted to cross, going into the goblin caves. You go over to the edge and you look down and you see that it's almost as if everything, the ground around you has become more crumbly. But as you do, I'm gonna have you make a perception check for me.
Does the Balrog come out and lunge at me? 6.
Oh, yeah. You look down and you begin to hear what sounds to be kind of a deep growl. And you can just barely make out over the sound of the waterfall, but over down into the darkness. There are white, shining eyes that are staring back at you. And the sound of the claws against the stone you begin to hear louder and louder as they begin to scrape, making their way up towards you as if it's climbing. And a giant, enormous, blackened, shadowed figure begins to make its way up. I'm going to have you make a wisdom saving throw for me. This is not to gain shadow.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna ask, but I was like, no, surely he's remembered. 5.
5.
I'm doing so well, guys.
No, it makes its way up, and you back up and you fall down on your basically on your butt and your hands. And as this creature rises up over you, you see that the dark mass isn't ethereal. It is large, it is dark, and it is covered in fur. It looks at you and it roars in your face. And with that, you're woken and jolted awake. It's the early hours of the morning. The sun hasn't quite risen yet, and as you look around, you can see that the light of the moon is still filtering in through your window. However, you do hear something moving outside.
Okay. I quickly grab my weapons and I dart outside to see what it is.
Okay.
I got.
Are you peeking outside, or are you like physically going outside?
I am like actually like bursting open the door, like looking around to see if I can find what it is. I am on edge. At this point.
You do so, and you burst out, and you see nothing at first. There is a soft kind of like breeze that is going through the trees. You can hear the crickets, the autumn crickets, but you hear what sounds to be something large moving, almost dragging, just near where the stone bridge is.
Okay. I'm gonna go stealth, I think, and investigate this further.
Make a stealth check for me.
Yeah. What was that? 13.
You go closer, and you realize that as you do, the dragging sounds still persist, but you, on top of it, begin to hear a and as you grow closer, just towards the edge of the creek, ducking within the woods, you see the form of a enormous bear. This thing is bigger than anything you have ever seen in your life. I'm gonna have you make a nature check for me.
Okay. Let me scroll down a little bit. There we go. Nature. There it is. 17.
You've seen bears before. In fact, there are actually plenty of them that are in the Shire, or at least in the outskirts away from kind of the society, but they don't ever come close. This is definitely the closest that you've ever seen of a bear. And as you investigate and you look, it doesn't seem to have noticed you. As it looks up at kind of the sky and like kind of stares at the moon and then turns its head back towards the bridge. It still doesn't see you as you're kind of concealed within the woods. And you can see what look to be giant, basically, scar marks across its face. And actually, as you look closer, you see that riddled all over its body, it looks to have been in some kind of battle, in some kind of war. These aren't just claw marks from other animals. These look like weapon marks, as if arrows or swords had tried to cut through the hide of this bear. It's as you kind of adjust your eyes and you see more of it, it standing up on two legs, it could probably reach about 18 feet in height. It's huge. And on all fours, its back reaches about 9 feet in height. As it kind of walks around, it lumbers off, basically along the trail, not towards the Easterly Inn, but back around, kind of the wooded area outside.
Cool. I stay there and I make sure that it's gone.
You wait for 5-10 minutes. You can hear it still. But it sounds to be moving further away. It doesn't seem to be concerned at all with being stealth-like or anything. But eventually, after about another 5 minutes, so 10 minutes total, you can no longer hear it. It is gone.
Neat. Right. I think I just like take a few minutes here to like have a couple breaths and like get my composure together. Then what season is it? It's like late autumn?
Yeah, so it's like middle of October right now.
Yeah, okay. So all the months and seasons are like the other way around in Australia. We have
Oh, sorry. So the equivalent the equivalent would be probably in.
It wouldn't even be equivalent because it doesn't snow here either.
Well, there you go.
It's not where I am.
Probably March or April.
Anyway, yeah, October. All right. I think I'm just gonna like gather myself and like see if I can find any like fresh berries or like nuts or stuff that we could like roast or like use for breakfast or lunch or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah, go ahead and make a nature check for me.
Oh, let's see how we go. No, there's 1. Not nat. It's 2 minus 1.
It's tough. This is weighing heavy on your mind. You've never seen such a creature, and like the fact that like the relative safety of the Easterly Inn has been something that you've relied on. Leaving the Goblin Tunnels, you felt safety here, but after seeing that creature, you're even beginning to question that. And you're finding a hard time even just like thinking of where to look for just wild food in general before you wander back. Do you want to wander back to your room or back into the Easterly Inn proper?
Back into the Easterly Inn. Did any of the Bjornings stick around here?
So they have been. The only one that was left was Igor, and so Igor he departed probably 3 or 4 days ago. The last Bjorning that you've seen here was probably likely to be Osred, as he came to deliver the silver to you guys.
Okay. All right. I'll head on in.
You do so. It's locked, but fortunately, you know where they keep the key. And so you're able to open it up and make your way in, get the fire started and stoked, and what do you want to do as you pass the time? You have about probably an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours before sunrise or the first dawn of the day.
Well, I will start first breakfast.
You do so, and actually the smells that you are making. As you begin to cook and grab the ingredients, something that's quite soothing to you. This
I
immediately,
just completely go into a trance. I am like barely even thinking about food. I'm just like using the routine to soothe me, and I am just fully. My mind is elsewhere.
Mhm,
I'm gone.
absolutely. And then as you cook, probably about 30 minutes after the start of this, Agatha comes down, actually followed by Rodri and oh, I forget the other one's name. The two children. They come
Yeah.
down and they actually begin to sniff. And Agatha, she says to you, "Dear, is something the matter?" And she looks at you and she sees like how you're just like in a state of focus, and
Yeah.
she just kind of steps back and doesn't say anything for a while. She sits down the two boys at one of the tables as she makes her way into the back with you. Um, without a word, begins to grab a couple of pans, ingredients, and starts cooking beside you.
There's probably like a good like 10 or so minutes goes by before I even like notice that she's in the room. Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Oh, Agatha, you're up. Um, how did you sleep?
I've slept quite fine indeed. How about you?
Good. Well, not good. I like pull her to the side, like in a corner of the kitchen, and just like, I don't want to worry you, but there's something, there's something not quite right.
What do you mean, sweetie?
I saw, I saw a bear outside.
She kind of furrows her brow. And she thinks for a moment, and you can tell that this disturbs her a bit. She kind of refocuses and looks back at you and says, "A bear? It's quite frightening.
I nod.
Back at home, they
It
don't
was,
come into the city or into
it was,
town."
it was bigger than the ones at home.
She looks aghast.
Much, much bigger. I
And
think we, I think we need more people here. It's, we've always felt it was safe, but we really don't have any defenses. And with everything that's going on, I just like wrap my arms around myself.
She kind of hesitates to reach out and touch you, but she does eventually, and she kind of does this thing where she kind of rubs the top of your shoulders and arms, and she says,
Yeah.
"Dear, you've been on this journey with us since the beginning. We've come out here, leaving our home behind, to start a new life. They call it Wilderland for a reason, but I understand what you're saying, especially after the events of what happened with Dindy, Iguar, and the boys from Bree. I can't help but wonder as well. We came here with great ambition, and perhaps it's the took in me, and well, perhaps good old Bilbo has gotten his fingers into the imagination of Dodie, but we came here looking for adventure. And we came from a world of, well, a small world. We've seen our fair share of people, plenty of joys, but also sadnesses. I can understand you feeling scared. We really are in the middle of nowhere. between us, the only thing that has really kept me smiling and feeling safe is good company like you, but also Shadrach. He has a way of knowing about this place. I've been sensing something's a little off with him.
I have too. It's concerning. I wonder if the Bjornings would know more.
Perhaps.
Where did he
Fortunately,
come from? I know you've said that he came to you, but I don't know much more than that
who came to us?
about
Sorry.
Shadrach.
Oh, Shadrach.
Hmm.
Well, Dodie would like to think we were the ones who found him and adopted him, but when we came into this land, we didn't just build, per se. We did end up getting permission. The one good thing that did come from our business dealings with Bilbo was the fact, and she goes over to this, basically this picture frame that's hanging kind of like just inside the kitchen out of view from outside, and she pulls it down. This is, well, maybe you've seen these before, but they're papers. These have allowed us not only to be able to be on the land here, but, well, be in good graces with those that own this land, the Beornings. But needless to say, when we first settled here, it was a little bit frightening, but we, went into this wonderful, whimsical place. It was so natural. Things were growing that I've never seen in the Shire. And we met him. Bilbo told us if we were to come out here, we would need friends. And so we came searching Beorn. Are you familiar with him, dear?
I've heard of him. Rumors, legends mostly, but I've never met him.
Let's just say he is a man of few words. He saw the papers and took one look at us. And he didn't give us more than just a nod. Dodie, of course, thought that, of course, this means that we can build wherever we want in the land, and so, with that, we found here. Beautiful wooded area, wonderful lush nature scenery, away from the views of unseemly folk. And it's proven these past couple of years to be quaint. We're growing every year. More and more people seem to know about our presence. And I can only assume we are okay, as Beorn himself hasn't said anything one way or the other.
I see. Where is Shadrach? Have you seen him today?
Huh, last I heard last I saw him, he was sleeping at the foot of our bed. Dodie, he's been having bad habits of having the dogs come up into bed with us. It's a dirty business, of course, and I'm always having to, every single morning, do the sheets, and he should be upstairs.
I worry.
We all do, dear. And she pulls you in and gives you this hug. Very tight,
Okay.
comforting hug.
Don't return it. I'm familiar. Yeah.
We all are. It's not just me and you and Dodie and Dindy that came out here, but the rest of the family. We've uprooted our lives and have gone to the other side of the world. We have everything poured into this venture. If we were to go back, there would be many that would say they told us so. I don't know if, myself could bear with that shame. This is the life we've made for ourselves and the life I intend to keep.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the feeling. I'm gonna take a walk, and I'll go outside.
You leave, and she picks up right where you guys had left off, and she begins just continuing with the cooking, and the smells are radiating. You hear as you leave the front door, there's the ding of the bell as you leave, and you hear, "Oh, what a beautiful morning! Is that bacon?" As you hear Dodie from upstairs. The kids are laughing to themselves; they're entertaining themselves. But as you leave, you see the
Yeah, I like take a look back to see if I can spot Shadrach with Dodie.
So you just heard him from upstairs as if he was just with
Oh,
you.
okay.
Yeah. You don't see him or Shadrach coming down the stairs or anything.
Okay, I'll leave them. So.
As you go out, it is a beautiful, crisp morning. No longer is there a morning dew. It has become a morning frost on the tips of the grass, and you can hear the sounds of the creek and the wind in the trees, the early morning bird song. And as you make your way out, the sun has just begun to spill over the landscape. What do you want to do while you are out here?
I will, just sort of stepping a little bit softly, just using like my passive stealth, not actively doing it. And I will see if I can find the bear tracks.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna have you make an investigation or a nature check for me.
4.
4.
Investigation.
It's the strangest thing. You can recall exactly where you saw this bear from the night before, down to the last detail. But alas, there are no tracks. Something this heavy must have left something, but there are no tracks at all to be found.
Odd looking bear.
And with that, as you search around the general area, you cross back over the bridge. You can see that the morning has really begun in full swing. There are a couple of guests that are currently staying at the inn tonight, or from the night. One of them being a woodman, and the other one actually being an elf. This is an elf that you are unfamiliar with, but it is just kind of one of the traveling folk that will very, very infrequently visit on occasion. But the elf has woken up, but the woodman has not. As you start to make your way out towards back towards the easterly inn, the door opens and you see Shadrach coming. Kind of almost more of like a trot towards you. He spins around you and he sniffs up kind of in your hand, and right behind is Rufus, and he does much the same. Rufus seems very happy, wagging his tail and trying to give you the kisses that he can, like on your cheek and whatnot. You have to push him away. Shadrach's a little less like this, but he's by your side and he sits at your feet. And he turns his head and he looks over towards the stone bridge in the very similar fashion that you are used to, of him just staring blankly in that general direction.
Okay. Right. I'll get on Shadrach's level. Whatever that entails.
Yeah, he's smaller than Rufus, so you can crouch and kind of get on his level.
Yeah. Do you wanna? You see it too, right? Don't you, Shadrach? You've seen it. Do we need to be worried about it?
He breaks his gaze and he looks up at you. I'm gonna have you make an insight check for me.
Okay. 13.
13. There is this calming presence that comes from him. And he looks back from you to the stone bridge, and as he does so, he almost as if he's asking you to look as well.
Okay, I look.
You begin to hear a high-pitched whistling, and from up the road, you see a man. He is wearing this large kind of fur overcoat, and he has these very thick kind of hide boots. His eyebrows are quite unkept. His hair is shaggy and unkept as well. And he is whistling as he walks up. He doesn't seem to have any weapons or anything of the kind on him, but he approaches and over the bridge. As he does so, are you going to do anything, or are you just going to watch and let him pass?
Oh, it's awkward if I like just watch. Is he like? Does he look like he's going to go past the inn, or is he just like? Is he coming in? Is it?
He looks like he has very much the intention of going inside the inn.
Okay, yeah. In that case, like I'll step out a few paces, probably to just like this landing part here on the steps, and then I'll call out to him when he's like in earshot. And then I'll say, yeah.
Go ahead.
Greetings, traveler. Welcome to the Easterly Inn.
I've been curious about this establishment. And as he does so, he walks. He doesn't stop to address you. He basically glances very much down at you. As he gets closer, you start to realize that this guy is enormous. This guy probably stands a solid 7 feet in height. As he looks down at you and he says, I've been curious about this establishment. And as he walks by you, he puts out his hand as a Shadrach instinctively goes up to sniff. And for the first time that you've seen in days, he gets up onto his hind legs and begins to kind of like prance like around in circles around Beorn. And he looks to you. He looks to you and says, "Thank you for taking good care of my dog, Shadrach. How's the Hobbit family been?" And he makes his way inside the Easterly Inn.
I'm very excited about this. I'm gonna like immediately like rush into the kitchen and cook so much more bacon and sausage that I know this guy is gonna eat.
He walks in. As you kind of follow him in, he's already seated at one of the tables, and Agatha, she walks out and says, "Welcome to the..." And she like looks at the man and says, "Sir Bjorn, happy to have you visit us at last." And she runs back into the kitchen, and you, I'm assuming, join back there with her, and the two of you begin to cook, and she says, "They say words sometimes have magic. I didn't think that it would actually bring Beorn to our doorstep. Let's do our best."
Agatha, calm down. Calm down, okay? You do the potatoes.
Yes.
Okay.
Potatoes, good idea.
Make really good potatoes.
I think they, Beorn, last I checked, he really likes honey, he likes berries, he likes anything that grows, but meat. Where's the meat? Oh, we should have, I don't know, should we slaughter the pig for this?
The pig's not fat enough, we have enough. Okay, it's fine. We'll do up some potatoes. Potatoes are really filling, okay? We'll do them like baked potatoes. We got plenty of eggs.
You're right. Keep our composure. Sweetie, we have a guest. And you hear Dodie, "Welcome, Sir Beorn, to the Easterly Inn. It has been quite some time since we've seen you. Thank you for finally coming to our humble establishment. What do you think of the place?" And he, like, without even dropping, like, a beat, just goes over and is being as basically like gracious as possible, playing that part of gracious host. And you can hear as the interaction between them, Beorn doesn't say more than like a couple words, mostly grunts. I'll have whatever you're making. It smells good. Oh, of course. A little of everything from the menu.
Yep. I'll go up to like Beyond, like somewhat cautiously. I'm a little intimidated. A lot intimidated.
He's a big
dude. Yeah, intimidated. Whatever. And I'll just say, my lord Bayon.
He immediately holds up his hand. Bayon is fine.
Bayon. Well, as a welcome guest to this establishment, would you prefer waffles or pancakes? Or both. We can do both.
Can you do pancakes and bring out honey? Lots of honey.
It would be my pleasure.
He nods his head.
Straight back.
She said, Agatha comes to you. How did it go? What does he want? What can we do?
Pancakes, lots of honey.
Pancakes, lots of honey. Oh, good. We just got a shipment in, and you think back to a couple weeks ago. It was just the honey harvest, and so you have jars upon jars upon jars of honey to be able to choose from, and so you go pick the best looking ones.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I do that.
Perfect. As you go back to deliver everything to the table, he has kind of reclined a little bit, and he has taken out a pipe and has begun cleaning it. Is it okay if I smoke in here?
Agatha generally disapproves of the practice. If you would like to wait until after first breakfast, I would love to join you outside.
He nods. Wouldn't want to sully the taste anyways. I hear hobbit
Welcome
cooking
home,
is
good hunter.
something to be
What is it you desire?
excited for. And he
Ordinarily, I wouldn't say no to the likes of you, and I'm sure Agatha and Dodie would say yes to anything you requested, but I know that Agatha likes to keep a clean house and the smoke can stain the walls.
I can't say I understand entirely, but that is the rules of the establishment. I shall follow them. And he puts, he opens his, kind of like his vest, and he puts his pipe back in and says, "You, what is your name?"
Oh, sorry for not introducing myself earlier. Is he like in the middle of eating, or is he just like?
Oh yeah, like he doesn't even like he's completely ignored the silverware, and he started just tearing off pieces and dipping it into the honey pot, and like has like just begun eating.
I try not to judge him for his table manners. Do a little bit. Yeah. Just my apologies for not introducing myself. I am Jessamine Sackville-Baggins.
My name is Bayon.
I'm sure you've, as I have heard, I'm sure Dodie has talked your ear off about my cousin Bilbo. I would like to apologize for that, by the way.
I remember Bilbo. He's
I
a
met
squatter.
him.
On my property.
Is he really? And I like pull up a chair to like get more invested in the story.
He like lifts an eyebrow as he continues eating. He seems intrigued by this. Make an insight check for me.
Okay. Please tell me more. You big man. I got a natural 20 for a total of 19.
You can tell, like, you've pegged him exactly with just the short interaction that you've had as you've kind of skated around, like, how is it to interact with him? He cares not for flattery whatsoever, but he does respond well to honesty and directness. Yeah. He appreciates a respectful tone, but not flattery. He is courteous, but he doesn't like honeyed words. So he looks to you as he basically nods as he offers you the seat, and he says, "Well, you see, I was out in Wilderland one night, and there were wolves. I can remember the sound of them very specifically. And I came back in the evening, and there was a host of dwarves and a halfling at my doorstep. Needless to say, you could say I was a little surprised, but he was gracious enough. But it's not a great first impression.
No, I suppose he does have a habit of not asking for permission.
There was one with him. You might know him by the name of Thorin Oakenshield. He would have been a great king, rest his soul.
I'll nod. I don't have very much to add to that. Because either player don't really know the story.
And he, and that makes sense. That makes sense. And yeah, it totally makes sense. And he looks to you and as if kind of just like remembering something and says,
"Yeah."
And you part of this establishment? Are you a visitor?
Oh well. The Brandybucks have been very kind to me. I journeyed here from the Shire. They were kind enough to let me join their caravan as I traveled through, and even let me stay at the inn for a time. I met up with a group of adventurers, traveled around Woodland for a little bit. Then we had to rescue Dindy from some goblins that had intercepted the caravan as it was having new supplies brought to it, and goblins had captured Dindy. So we went to their caves and made a little trouble for them, shall we say.
He's looking at you the whole while still continuing to eat. And as you end, he like lets out a loud whistle and claps his hand and says, "Shadrach, I'm thirsty." And literally in due time, Shadrach bolts into the back and like comes out on two like legs, like holding like this giant tray. The bacon is ready, by the way, and it's a mound of bacon. And on top of it is a giant pitcher of what looks to be milk. And Shadrach puts it down at the table and bows, and Beorn says to him, "Oh, that's a good boy. Sorry to be rude. Shadrach's one of
Not
mine."
at all. He's not an ordinary dog, is he?
None of my dogs in my service are ordinary. They're very close friends, and let's just say I look to them as more of colleagues than anything. They know what I want, and I know how to take care of them. Shadrach here. And he leans in close. As you are not a worker at this establishment, I've sent Shadrach to keep an eye on the place.
I did gather that much. It was well done of you. I woke up early this morning and I saw a bear outside. It was huge.
Did you know? I'm surprised I didn't see you. And he takes the milk and he, in the pitcher as if it is like a tankard, and he just begins drinking directly from the pitcher.
Wait. And like you can see her like connecting dots. Huh. So the legends are true then.
The legends are true. Well, it depends on which legends you say. Some say I'm a monster. Perhaps. But I go by Skin Changer. I and few of my folk, well, there used to be many. Now, as far as I know, there's just me. The Beornings. They're good people. They've looked to me for leadership. After the Battle of the Five Armies, the mountain folk came down from the Misty Mountains, and they were looking for a home. They were looking for a leader. Clearly my exploits have brought some kind of notoriety to me. And as soon as I returned to Wilderland, no more than a few months passed before, not only did I have a host of dwarves and a hobbits knocking on my doorstep, but an entire civilization of men looking to call me Lord. I did not want it, but necessity dictated that I do so. And he pulls you and he's like, what do you know of the people of Wilderland?
Jess will take a very real moment to, consider that. Well, they're big, loud. As humans are, for the most part.
I would agree. Maybe not
They-
the big part, but they are loud. Too
Well,
loud for my liking.
Compared to you, maybe, but compared to me.
He lets out a chuckle. Continues on with his...
They're like trees too much. Just one hobbit's opinion. But they're kind, welcoming. They're trying their best to make a home for themselves. I think most people are. They seem willing and ready to fight against Shadow. I think they just want somewhere to belong.
As do we all. Fortunately for you, from what it sounds like, you've had the ability to find the good ones.
I don't consider myself to be belonging here.
I don't know very many that would consider Wilderland a place to belong. The fact that these hobbits, the Brandybucks you said, the fact that they decided to make a home here, it's beyond me. It's
Me too, but
a wild
here we are.
place. And when the dragon fell 6 years ago, he thinks about it almost as if it's amazing how much time has passed. He looks back and says, he was a tyrant for a time. Well, there was a time where Wilderland, the woodland realm, the elves, the men, they lived in fear. And fear does stuff to a person. Even to me. When the dragon died, when we slaughtered all those goblins and orcs, it created a vacuum. Yes, peace came out of it. But many took power. Bard rose to power in Dale, safeguarding the Daleans, the dwarves, making their way back to Erebor under their new king, King Dain Ironfoot. All the way down in the south, the woodmen, they'd begun to grow. But there are others who sought opportunity to establish dominance. When the Beornings came, or when the people of the Misty Mountains came, they were looking for a leader. I told you that it was out of necessity that I accepted. There are a few others that they could have turned to. And my fear is if I had rejected Osred, his eyes would have looked northward. He continues eating.
Well, I'm glad that didn't happen.
Indeed. And, well, it brings me to why I'm here.
Oh.
I haven't properly introduced myself to these fine folk, and I've been observing them for a while. They seem like good enough people. I do fear for their safety. No more than a month ago, my scouts, well, we were sweeping the Anduin, making our way northward. And we had noticed that much of the wild things are not as abundant. Poachers from the north have started to descend into the Anduin Vales. My territory. And so...
Oh, we can't have that.
Absolutely not. But I do fear for the lives of the folk that live here. It is a beautiful area, but the men of the north are, for all intents and purposes, ruthless. They unite under the banner of one. A powerful man who goes by the name of Vigland. We've caught a few of their trappers. As they grow, so do their needs for food. We've left well enough alone as long as they stayed put. But these days are growing darker and things are changing. And places like the Easterly Inn aren't as safe as perhaps they used to be. You see, I've mobilized the Beornings. We will be protecting the Easterly Inn as best as we can, but in many of our settlements up and down the Anduin, we've been receiving attacks. Goblins, orcs. But most concerning, men. Our settlements have been raided here and there, infiltrated, per se. And it is my duty as, and he winces, chieftain, to make sure that my people are okay. You are under my dominion and my domain. Whether you call me chieftain or not, I care not. But my duty is to protect you. My duty is to make sure that all is well. My bare form that you saw. That is how I prefer to go about, especially at night. I do plan to make my way southward. I plan to check in on the various communities that are within my dominion and rid the place of orcs and those seeking to destroy the beauty that is Wilderland.
Well, if you're looking for someone that hates orcs, I'd recommend going to Mogdred in Tyrant's Hill. I could get you an introduction if you need one.
He ruffles his or crunches his brow. He says, "Mogdred, I'm unfamiliar. Who is he?"
Oh, that is a long story. You might not have enough bacon for that. To put it succinctly, he was Kyle, please correct me if I get any of this wrong.
Yeah.
He was kidnapped when he was 7 years old. Put into Torrance Hill, made to serve the Shadow. I can't even think what tortures he must have endured. But with the fall of the Necromancer? Is that right? Yeah. Well, with the fall of the Necromancer, he found himself free, and he spent the last however long beheading orcs as a hobby. He's got a following, some people who were in captivity with him. He's just recently joined the Woodmen in a more official capacity. Tensions were tight with them the last time I saw. I had the opportunity to attend their folk moot where Mogdred was sworn in. He made not the best first impression, shall we say. But I was thinking of heading there for the winter anyway. He gave me an invitation to stay at Torrance Hill, and I'd like to take him up on the offer. If only just to see how well he's integrating himself back into society and reconnecting with his father.
Make a persuasion check for me.
Okay. I got no stake in this. Persuasion. 6. Good thing I have no stake in it.
Tyrant's Hill. What evils came from that place in ages past? I shudder to think. And you say that there is a new lord. One that
he calls himself.
Came of shadow. Be wary. If you plan to visit, it's not in my nature to be trustful of people in general, particularly those who served the Necromancer at one point. But that being said, you say he's acquainted himself with the Woodmen. I know in Gomer he's a good man.
Yes. To that point, Mogdred is actually Ingolmer's son, although he went by a different name at that point in his life.
I see. Fascinating. And he thinks
it is, isn't it? I understand you don't want to trust Mogdred. A lot of people share that opinion, but I am of the opinion that if we don't trust, someone has to trust someone. Otherwise, the shadow wins.
He thinks for a moment as he kind of just like takes the information in. You can see that his brain is whirling. His eyes are racing back and forth.
It's a spicy one.
Spicy one, yeah. He after probably about a minute, he looks to you and he says, "Jess, do you mind if I call you Jess?"
Oh, please do. All my friends do.
The world needs folks, more folks like you.
I hear that a lot. I know, I'm amazing, aren't I? No.
He kind of winks and he smirks a little bit and says, "And it is good the world has people like you. My position, however, does not afford me the same luxuries. But what I can do," and he nods, "is I can see by action what this Lord of Tyrant's Hill can do. How he can prove himself. While yes, I am untrusting, I am not unreasonable. I hate dwarves. Yet, I became kindred with them. I was unfamiliar with hobbits. Yet here I am, eating bacon off of their table.
How is the bacon?
He looks to you like
No.
very seriously. It's magnificent.
That's good. That is very good.
And then he thinks, Tyrant's Hill. I'm going that direction later today. I'm going to my settlements down south, but I have business at Stonyford. Very close to Woodman Hall along the Anduin. If you would like to join me, the wilds are wild. I would like to have company.
Have first-hand experience with, I would feel very safe with you around.
And I would feel very, well, at least to say the least, entertained to have someone as good of company as you to join me on my journey.
On another matter, Shadrach, he behaved strangely for a few days before you arrived. I assume that's because he could sense you were coming. Is that right?
Perhaps. I was in hunt. For those who don't know, when I skin change, I have a degree of control. But there is that. I often lose myself, especially when I'm on the hunt for orc, wolf, or those who do my people wrong and do my lands wrong. I have a hunch he could sense this. I don't intend to mean anybody harm while I am that form, but I also cannot hold myself accountable for the actions of my skin-changed form, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Jess will, take a moment to sort of digest this information, and then she'll, I think in her mind, she'll equivalate it to how Theodric sometimes gets when he is in a battle rage, or how Fëanor got when he was bashing that goblin skull in. She goes,
Yep.
I think I can understand that.
Are you still okay to travel with me? I promise not to skin change, if I can help it.
I am... Well, that brings us back to the trusting thing I said earlier. To settle a bet, can Shadrach fly?
I do believe the only beings that are capable of flight are the eagles. That would be a question for Gwai here, the Lord of the Eagles.
I see. All right.
I would be surprised if I saw Shadrach flying.
So with some of my friends, he's a very impressive dog.
He is one of my favorites.
Well, I should get ready to go and try not to persuade Agatha to kill any more pigs.
But this is so delicious. We need food for the road, of course.
Well, that'll be between you and her. I will gather my things and I'll get ready to head out.
You do so. It takes very little time for you to be able to gather. There again with that itching readiness for adventure, you pretty much had everything good and ready to go. And by the time you come out, you actually see Beorn. He has this sack over his shoulder, probably with all kinds of food. And underneath one of his arms is a pig, and it is not alive, but he has it underneath his arm, and he says, "Faster than I thought. Shall we?"
I pack light. Please, after you.
Of course. I'll try to slow my pace down if you can keep up.
Yeah, I'll try to keep up. Yep.
As he begins just very, like, as if he's not breaking any sweat, just like wandering off into the wild, and you begin to follow him.
So we're not even following the trail. He's just walking up into the bush.
Yeah, just into the bushes. You do cross the bridge. You take one last look back at the Easterly Inn, and Agatha, she waves to you, and Dodie says, "Do come back to us. We will have quite a feast again." Agatha, we need to find another pig. As you make sure to make your way down the path. It's a couple days travel. Is there anything that specifically you want to talk to Beorn about or ask him about as you do travel? As you can imagine, it is a very safe road with Beorn. You don't encounter anything.
I sleep soundly. Do I sleep soundly? Any more dreams or just...
Make a wisdom saving throw for me.
Ooh, spicy. Wisdom. Where are you? Oh, there it is. Hey, that's better. 15.
15. They become less. The more that you come to know Beorn, the less the creature in your dream becomes less frightening. If anything, it becomes almost kind of like a familiar face, and in the dark tunnels of the goblin, you actually start to feel secure with this presence. It's interesting, and altogether, you the darkness of the tunnels kind of slowly begins to slip away, and your dreams relatively return to normal, especially by the time that you make your way down towards Woodman Hall. But you cross the Old Ford after about 2 days of travel, and there's about 3 more days. He does ask you, is there anywhere you would like to stop before we head off to?
Well, if you're going in that direction anyway, I do have a friend in Woodman Hall that I'd quite like to catch up with.
I have some friends in Woodman Hall as well.
Yes, and if you want a character reference, Mogdred, I think Ingolma would be the one to talk to.
I appreciate it. Shall we then?
Yep. Just craning my neck up.
Yeah, he's like really looking down.
7 feet tall, and I'm
huge dude. You make your way.
With me to make one of him.
Yeah, really. You make your way over. Probably after about another 3 days from the Old Ford towards Mirkwood, and as you duck beneath the boughs of Mirkwood into the Eaves, you notice that it isn't quite as hot. This is actually a relatively pleasant time to at least go beneath the trees. It's not humid. You don't have the constant humming of the insects and anything like that. Just bird calls. There is still kind of like this darkening presence that's there, but you feel quite safe again being with Beorn.
It's great. Yeah, and as we go, I just ask him more about the land and what sort of plants are native to the area, because I still don't totally know.
Make an insight check for me.
Yeah, slow. Ooh, not good. I got a 1, not natural. It was 2 minus 1.
The one thing that's really difficult about Beorn is his thoughts are kind of disjointed, as if he's having this kind of almost conversation inside his head that he's not speaking. And so he'll give you bits and pieces, but it's difficult to really get a hold of everything. You could tell he's very knowledgeable, but you have this hunch too that he's very old, even though he doesn't look like it. He's it's difficult to really comprehend everything that he is saying. But you could tell that he likes to talk about the things that he likes to talk about, which is the land. He loves Wilderland. That's one thing that you have been able to infer from him. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I just like take notes as best I can. I imagine conversation like could be a bit stilted at times if he's not like, used to company and having someone to talk to.
Yeah, like you'll sometimes like ask a question and you'll have to re-ask questions as he's like contemplating it. Like almost like again, he's like answering the question in his head, but he's not used to like verbalizing like what he's saying. He's just and he like continues onward. Yeah, he's
But imagine like there's a few campfire moments where I've just like cooked up part of the pig and you know we just like share stories about like the Wilderland or the Shire and just
absolutely
just have a really great time. Yeah.
And about another half day passes, and you make quick work of trudging through the Eaves of Mirkwood before you eventually do make your way to a Woodman Hall. It is as normal. It seems completely unchanged, with the exception of the lake that is outside has started to begin to freeze. And on the treetops and rooftops, there is a light dusting of snow. Definitely winter is starting to begin to settle in, but not quite. It's still definitely late autumn, for sure. But you do so, and Beorn, you look up to the front gates, but I'm going to have you make a perception check for me.
Okay.
And the gates are open, by the way. They're not closed.
Oh, perfect. 18.
18. You scan around as if taking in kind of the familiar look of this place. But again, it feels different. It looks exactly the same. But after your adventures, it feels different. And you look around as if almost expectedly looking for someone. And you turn to the right outside of the city walls, and you see a very familiar figure walking down by the somewhat frozen water.
Ooh. Is it an old lady figure?
It is an old lady figure.
Okay. I just like, Leon, that's my friend. I have to go. Bye. I'll meet you back here later. See ya. And I race down to go meet her.
You hear he doesn't respond with anything but a laugh. As he just watches you for a moment and then proceeds inside the settlement. But you go down and you see that she isn't like kneeling down and picking anything up. She just seems to, with her hands behind her back, just seems to be kind of like walking along the water's edge.
Yeah. I just give out the loudest yell I can. Gisela! As I'm like running.
Oh goodness, dearie, you nearly gave me a heart attack. I didn't expect you to return so soon.
I give her a hug around the knees because that's how much I can reach.
Yes, dear.
It's so good to see you. And she like kind of looks down at you. She's already kind of doing because she's a little bit hunched, but she like steps back and she like takes one look at you and says,
"My, has it only been a couple of months? Why have you grown?"
Have I grown? Have I?
Different kinds of ways, perhaps.
Maybe.
Look at you.
and she just like takes a moment and she puts her like hands like under her chin and says,
I give her a little spin.
No idea how happy I am to see you. It's
No matter how happy you are, it's only half as happy as I am to see you, and I go in for another hug.
and she taps your shoulders and hugs you in return. I'm gonna have you make a perception check for me.
Okay. So much perceiving. 17.
You are very familiar with kind of this feel. It very much is kind of like the similar hug that your grandma used to give you. And as it's cold though, you feel kind of like her thin skin of her arms, and she does feel like she needs a little bit of circulation going in. She is old, and so she looks to you, and you look into her eyes, and you see kind of this this tiredness that's there that you didn't notice from last time.
Yeah, and I just sort of like realizing this, I sort of like pull back a bit, and like I still have her hands in my hands, and I'm like, "Are you alright? Are you warm enough? Are you eating enough?"
Oh, I, I, I get by. I,
Mm.
I like to come out here by the lake and just see how beautiful it is. And within a couple of months, I won't be able to make my way down here, so I'm just taking it in as best as I can.
I'll sort of turn and look at the lake and just go, "It is beautiful, isn't it?"
It is. I often find myself, whether I'm troubled or in need of a pick-me-up, down here. I have so many good memories, particularly with you, dear.
I have some of those too. So, does your home have a warm fire for a cold and weary adventurer like myself, or are you going to force me to stay in that tree again?
No, of course not. I understand that you, are not so much of a fan of that, and my house is cozy. I've been keeping it tidy and clean. I just grabbed new firewood for the winter as I'm preparing. I would be more than happy to be able to build a fire for you, and we can catch up.
And she begins to kind of almost guide you back towards
Yeah.
like the gate of the city, and she hears, and you hear as you walk up.
What have you been up to, dearie?
Oh, you know, adventuring on the road, rescuing hobbits, finding goblin treasure. Just, the usual kind of thing.
Usual. I knew I saw an adventure in you yet, but all that in such a little amount of time.
It hasn't been very long ago.
No. There's also rumor, too, that you made quite the impression at the Folkmoot.
Oh, really? I'd love to hear more. Please tell me all about these rumors.
Well, in Gomer, when we came back, he was... Well, he looked a little perturbed. As a old lady, the things that the leaders of this town have in mind, I can't even fathom or imagine, but he started speaking at the tavern about what you had did and the contributions that you made. I heard that
What did we do exactly?
I heard the Black Tarn is growing. Wonderful, wonderful people at the Black Tarn. I've made my way down there a few years ago. I used to have a granddaughter down there, you see. She moved to Dale, but
Oh.
yes, she I know she loves the woods. And the Black Tarn is well, at the time struggling a little bit. But I hear that it's perhaps doing better these days more and more. And also the East Bite. I heard Saywin, a young lad from up north, has come down and has started to make a name for himself there. And, well, there are rumors.
Rumors?
Yes. Rumors that, Gomer found his long-lost son. But of course, that's pish-posh, as, you would think he'd be much happier.
Well, it has been a long time.
It has. But I've lived a long time. I've seen people come and go. I've seen them grow and change, as I've seen so in you.
Even so, I know I'm not the same person that I was 6 or 7 years ago. It's interesting, isn't it? Think about how much we changed throughout the years, but maybe people can't see it because they're around us all the time. They grow with us, they change, they adapt. It's like a small baby growing, no, mere fractions of inches at a time, and then you only really notice it when they're too big for their clothes. But if you were to not see someone for that length of time and the things that they go through, and if Ingolman's son is alive, he would have been through a lot. I wonder if Ingolma would even recognize him.
I think there's a lot of wisdom in your words, dear.
And as
I learned from the best.
Oh, you flatter me.
But as you are at this point in the conversation, you make your way to her home. She's opened the door, she lets you in, and she kind of hunches over and tries to get a fire going in the fireplace. It takes a little bit of time, but she eventually gets it stoked and ready to go. And within a matter
I
of
help
minutes,
her out with whatever I can. Yeah.
perfect. And within a matter of moments, you have this roaring fire in her fireplace, and the cold, frigid air of the late October morning has become, or late October afternoon has become much warmer. She offers you a seat in her favorite chair as she offers.
I refuse. I take her second favorite chair and I make her take the favorite chair.
Oh,
It's too big for me anyway. Just sit down, relax, be comfortable.
you know I really like you, but you're a stubborn one, you know that.
That is the Baggins in me. Or is it the Sackville? I'll have to consult the genealogy.
Yes. In fact, if you found anything new about that, I'd be more than willing to be able to listen, if you have the time, of course.
Oh, I don't know if I have the time or if you have the patience, but please tell me all about yourself. I've had enough talking about me. What have you been up to? I want to hear everything that's happened since I've been away. And I'll just continue with a conversation like that. And I'll be pretty vague on the adventuring stuff that I've been through and even what happened at the Folkmoot. But I'm very interested in everything she's done when she's apart, and then if it's time after that, then I might get started into the genealogy. But I know that can take a while.
Make a perception or traditions check for me.
Okay, let's see. What's my traditions? Okay, be perception.
Okay.
Ooh, 6.
She goes on about a lot of the monotony of her life, especially from what you had just experienced. This seems, I mean, maybe it was something that when you were back in the Shire, when you were just spending your days at the Easterly Inn, it sounded quite perhaps adventurous or normal, but this very much is a she lives one day at a time. But you can tell that with each day that she describes, she exemplifies gratitude. She tells you a little bit about over the course of the summer that she was able to find a few more crystals, which she was able to pull out and show you. And these are actually magnificent. They look to be very, very old, freshly unearthed from the bottom of the lake bed. What she was able to get her hands on. She talks about how at the beginning of the fall time that she had a little cold that was onset, and she struggled for a little bit with that. But fortunately, her neighbors were able to help her out. They cooked meals for her and whatnot. And she talks about how that this time of year specifically is quite difficult for her, and how as she gets older, it's more and more she's able to do less. And the fact that it does get as cold as it does in Woodman Hall, it makes it quite challenging for a frail old lady to be able to stay. But she always comes back to the fact that she is just so grateful that you're here, and that you've given her new life and new energy. and everything that she says is very happy, per se. But then she thinks back for a moment, and she looks at you in the eyes, and her like still smiling, she looks to you and says,
There's something in your eyes, dear. Nothing physical. I'm afraid, do you have something you want to talk about?
and this is just out of nowhere. Like, you just talk about the monotony, and it's just like completely out of nowhere. She's stoking the fire a little bit, and just kind of in passing, it just completely changes the subject.
What are you talking about?
I can tell something's troubling you. I sense, a weight on you. One that didn't exist last summer.
I knew I couldn't hide anything from you.
I just want what's best for you. And if there's something that you want to talk about, I'm more than happy to be able to help you through it if I can. I'm not much for fighting or, well, even in the ways of medicine, I feel my powers are waning to a degree. But if there's something that I can do that I've been pretty good at, it's at least lending an old ear and a bit of old advice.
Just this is helping.
She smiles.
More than you know. Just the everyday. I don't know. I miss it on some level. Life in the showers. Very simple. Very good. It was good life. And just everyday activities, everyday problems. It's just none of this troubled times.
Yes.
The shadow is real to me now in a way that it's never been before. I've never heard of any other adventure going through with stuff like this. Certainly not Bilbo. And it just weighs on me sometimes, is all.
She nods along with you as she's listening very intently, and she says,
When you visited this past summer, it was hard to imagine somebody so innocent. You're young, very young. And I, for one, feel innocence does need to be protected, but I saw it in my children, I've seen it in their children. The world weighs heavy. You see, whether we are out fighting dragons or even living life behind relatively safe walls, from what I've heard of the Shire, it sounds divine. But you see, my child, for everybody, life is a great adventure. For some, it might be exploring goblin caves, or simply growing old and seeing those that you love grow old, die, or move on. In your youth, you dance through life. There's a sparkling in the eyes of the children. They're blissfully ignorant to the shadows of the world. The shadows that linger beyond, well, the borders of our homes. The world seems so vast and full of wonder, and that is an important thing to cultivate and to protect in a child. But as we grow old, We encountered darkness, the little things. Darkness that dwells beyond the safety of our youth. The world once so enchanting, well, it reveals its harsh realities. We witness pain. We see injustices. Well, there are struggles that plague our hearts, but the hearts of others as well. It's as if a cloud of shadows descends upon us once our innocence is lost, and we can't help but be changed by it. Jess, you are young. I can tell that this has changed you. But I don't want you to despair. This is life. For I found, even in the midst of darkness, there still lies profound truth. It's rooted in the people that are around us. It's rooted in love. It's rooted in the very craft of this world. I think we have a purpose, a divine purpose, something that we all are looking for. Love. It is said that suffering is, well, it's not the end. It's a crucible that molds us. It shapes us. Well, as steel is forged by fires, as our crystals are charged in the moonlight, so too do our spirits grow. They grow in power. We grow resilient. And it's those trials, those dark times that we face that makes us that way. In our moments of sorrow, when the shadow creeps into our hearts, we often discover our strength within us that, well, as we grow older, we never knew existed, but has been there the whole time. It's this divine spark, I think. It refuses to be extinguished. This is the beauty of, well, it's the beauty of hope and love. The recognition that even in our brokenness, there is redemption and, well, grace waiting to be bestowed upon us. So, Jess, I sense the trouble in your eyes and the burdens of the road, the things you've experienced. You've probably experienced some true horrors. But as your journey continues, there's a greatness in you that I can see, and few others. You have a strength that extends beyond that of even myself, and I'm how old? I've even lost track. But don't be disheartened. Everybody loses their innocence at some point. Everybody loses the life they once had. Just embrace it. There are plenty of trials left on the road ahead. For it's through facing those trials that we find ourselves. Hold on to hope. Hold on to hope like a lantern in the night. And let the love of your heart be that beacon for others lost in the darkness. You have so much love to give. Love that you have flooded this old woman with. And she just like relishes in like the thought of that. What are your hopes, Jess? What do you plan to do?
Well, eventually I want to go back to the Shire.
Family is important.
Yeah, she'll nod. I went out here against the will of my parents. So I don't know what sort of reaction they're going to have to see me again. So, in my mind, it needs to be worth it. And I can't go back until I make it so.
She stands up and she comes and sits over a little closer to you. And she puts her arm around you and she says,
Don't you forget, Jess. I am a mother too. And my kids have become mothers. No matter how long it's been since we've seen our children. No matter how much they've grown. It is the love of family. That always holds true. We might not be happy with the choices that they make. We might not completely agree with everything that they've chosen to do with their lives. But family is family, and I know you care so deeply about what your mother, what your father, what your siblings think. That care, that will lead you to reconciliation, whatever that means. They will see the new person you've become. They might see you like that Bilbo Baggins that you so disdain. But you are theirs. And they love you. No matter how hurt a parent is, no matter how hurt a mother is, we always love our children. Even if we don't always show it.
Jess won't say anything in this moment. She is kind of caught in a place where she wants and hopes to believe that Giselda's right, but at the same time, there's like this thing in the back of her mind that's just going, but what if, so she doesn't 100% believe it.
I know life is scary, young one. You might not be able to reclaim the innocence that you lost, but from at least what I found, we can help to preserve it for those who still hold on to it dearly. That's part of growing up. Remember, you're not alone. You might feel lonely and scary out there. I know you have companions. You have me. You have a fellowship of kindred hearts that surround you. I know your journeys are going to be filled with many growth moments. You will gain wisdom, and you will also share warmth. You will share your love. Just hold on to hope. We don't know what the future holds, but we can always hope for a brighter tomorrow. We can always hope to be a light in a world that sometimes forgets its own brilliance. She pulls you in and she gives you a tight hug.
Yeah, I return it.
Now,
I make it a mission to not break the hug first.
You hold on to each other for a solid 10 minutes. It's a while. Like she
Yeah.
is there and she's completely there for you.
Yeah.
Fully present, even if no words are spoken.
Yeah. I go through the adventure that I just had in my mind one more time, and then I just keep coming back to this moment and just think, yeah, It's worth it.
Make a wisdom saving throw for me.
Okay. This one is important. I can feel it. 18.
You can recover 6 points of shadow.
Yes, 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 yes.
Freaking 6 points.
I am winning. I only have 5 points of shadow. That's amazing.
That's awesome. That's really
I
great.
I clear it. The first time in the history of AME, I have no points.
That's great. No, that's truly amazing. That's
Oh
awesome.
man.
My question to you now, Jess, is how long do you plan to stay here in Woodland Hall? Do you plan to leave at due haste with Beorn, or would you like to stay a little bit?
Probably leave with Bjorn because I really like traveling with the guy.
It's pretty solid dude. Yeah, absolutely. As probably the day draws on, you leave, you bid Giselda goodbye, and she gives you one last hug, and she says,
Don't be too long, dear. You know where I am, and, well, I know for you the road will continue to go onward and onward, but there is always a way to retrace your steps back to this home, if you are lost.
I just give her hands one final squeeze. Just say, look after yourself, Giselda. I want you still here when I get back.
Of course. I might be old, but I'm not that frail.
Good. Hope your neighbors look after you.
Thank you so much. Your presence this day has brightened, well, made the rest of my year. You enjoy your Yule, and hopefully I will see you next year.
You may count on it. And yeah, as I walk off, there's just a lightness and a spring in my step, and just this residual grin on my face.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Search for Bjorn.
He is standing there waiting, and he's sitting basically on a huge stump that's on the side of the road, and he just seems to be staring off, looking in the direction of the lake. Kind of spaced out a little bit. You join up with him, and he looks to you and says,
Were you able to complete everything you came here to do?
I certainly did. And you?
I did. I believe we are, well, at least I am, caught up with what's needed catching up with.
Did you speak to Engolmer about Mogdred?
I did.
What was his opinion?
It's complicated. He seems conflicted.
and as you begin to depart out into, he begins to explain all to you.
Yeah.
You see, I can sense that he harbors a lot of grief, self-inflicted grief. I'm not a father myself. Probably never will be. But I can sense no resentment in him towards his son. Perhaps guilt is what riddles him. He's a strong leader, much better than I. But I can tell he's neglected himself. I can tell he's neglected. He's neglecting trusting the next generation. And I think upon seeing Mogdred, the state he is in, he worries. He sees strength, but he doesn't see the tender touch that's required to rule goodly and justly. Perhaps that can change, but
Well, that's what I'm going to Torrance Hill to figure out.
hopefully with a bit of luck, we can improve the relationships of not just Ingolmer and his son, but the strength of the woodmen. It would be quite an asset in protecting Wilderland from the evils of the world.
That is why my little group was so, shall I say, keen on the idea of having him sworn into the woodmen, join their ranks properly, despite his rather abrasive method of arxing.
I don't know all that it entails. I only know what you and Ingolmer have told me. But
there were a number of demands made, and various things from monetary tribute to women. We shall see.
we shall see.
How the times have changed.
I will find that in a world of growing darkness, necessity will often drive somebody to do what they can to survive. But hopefully with the right companionship, we will make a good ruler of him yet. And with that, you depart out onto the road. And so from this point on, the plan of Beorn is to make his way back out to the Anduin and south with you. Right here-ish, there's a small town called Stonyford. As you approach the basically Stonyford itself, he says, "I have business here. I can take you as far south as I can lead you on the path that goes through the narrows of the forest. If you just keep following it eastward, you will find in due time, perhaps a day, at a good pace, you will find Tyrant's Hill. Do not veer from the path, however. It is small and not traveled, but I will be here if you need anything. It's Stonyford."
Okay. All right, I will. Yes.
And with that, he guides you down
Okay.
all the way down here to the basically the forest narrows. You go into kind of this little it's like a little like inlet, kind of little like meadow that looks beautiful at first, and at the very end of the meadow there's this path. But to your right, as you're looking eastward, so to the south here, you can see that the vast majority of the trees are quite rotted and dead, and to your left, it's lush and full of life. There is this big disparity between the two, of southern Mirkwood and the rest of Mirkwood proper. And the words that are echoed in your mind is, stick to the path, and you will find Tyrant's Hill. Yeah, stick to the path. Jess has not experienced this quite yet, but
No.
but yes. For those who do not know, who have not seen quite yet, go back if you're curious of what we're talking about. Way back in the day, the party went into Mirkwood, and this is before we had Jess as a character. Jalen was there, and it was a time and a half. They tried to stay on the path. Feanor did
time and a half and a quarter.
And Feanor did everything that he could to not stay on the path.
Yeah.
But it's okay. He found his way back on the path eventually. But go check those episodes out. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So,
For sure.
but you do find your way onto this path, and you continue forward. It's definitely tiny. It's like a one-person like path. And as you continue for about the first few hours, it's starting to get into the evening. There are plenty of spaces along the side to be able to set up camp for the night. But What is your plan as you dive into the first night? Do you want to continue to keep traveling through the night until you find your destination, or would you like to set up camp?
I'll set up camp in like a very rough way. I'll just like literally like sleep in a bush.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna have you make a
Like,
survival check for me as you
yeah.
look around to try to see a good place to be able to do that.
Easy. Well, we'll see how easy it is. Not that easy, it's 2.
2. Question for you. For your camp for the night, are you planning on cooking or really just roughing it? Just like finding somewhere to just like lay your
Yeah,
head
I'm
down?
not even lighting a fire. It's literally just, yeah, trying to draw as little attention to myself as possible.
You find a nice little place that's kind of like smudged between like this like giant tree and this like small bush, and you're able to crawl under. You find a small little entrance there, and you begin to attempt to drift off to sleep. I'm gonna have you make a wisdom saving throw for me.
Yeah, perfect. Is this against points of shadow?
No, it is not. Fortunately.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. That is another 2.
You find it very difficult to go to sleep. You've grown so used to the presence of Beorn with you on your travels and just being able to just go to sleep and not have to worry at all. Now you are alone in unfamiliar territory in southern Mirkwood. That weighs heavy on you, and it's very difficult to clear your mind to the point where you are able to fall asleep. After probably about an hour or 2 of just like drifting in and out, you eventually do go to sleep, but it is restless sleep. I'm gonna have you make a Constitution saving throw for me.
Okay. And 13.
You fight through the restlessness, and you're able to close your eyes at last. Probably a solid another 4 hours after that. So you're in the middle of the night, but something is a little bit off. Not in an unpleasant way, though. You begin to dream of your encounter with Beorn at the Easterly Inn. You see Shadrach come out with the plate of bacon, and you begin to smell exactly that. Bacon. Make a perception check for me.
Okay, this is weird. 17.
It's so powerful, and your stomach begins to growl that you wake yourself out of this deep sleep. This is not something that is just in your dreams. You smell bacon.
He's cooking bacon in Mirkwood. Alright, I try and, okay, whatever. I pack up my camp, and I go look for the bacon, I guess.
It doesn't take long for you to be able to start to hear the sound of not so concealed voices. It sounds that there are a number of people just up the road, probably a solid few hundred yards away. You've hidden yourself well enough, fortunately, to have not been noticed by anybody on this road, and during your sleep you have no idea whether they passed you or if they are coming from the opposite direction. You have no idea. But as you remember, this is like a one person road, maybe 2 for a hobbit, but 1 person road. And you begin to hear talking. You actually begin to hear laughing. I'm gonna have you make either a perception check or a survival check for me.
This is weird.
This is super weird.
This is very weird. 16 for perception.
16. You hear only male voices as you sneak closer, and they begin to, like, you hear laughing, and you start to hear campfire, and you begin to see light. They seem to have whoever this is marked off a spot, and they don't seem concerned at all with any attention that they are drawing to themselves. But you are close enough to be able to listen if you want to stop to do so.
Alright, yeah, I'll stop and listen.
Make a stealth check for me first.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. I was skittering on 17, but it's 11.
11. You blend in just outside of the kind of the camp light, and what you notice immediately is there are a number of people here. They're all dressed in a rather raggedy fashion. Some of them have kind of some nice leather on, but most of like the cloaks and everything they have on top seems pretty worn. It doesn't seem to signal any kind like they belong somewhere. These clearly aren't people from the Tyrant's Hill, but they also don't look like the woodmen that you have seen before. But they are all men, from what you can tell. The majority of them are gathered around a campfire, and you can see within the firelight, sitting up on a boulder is a man. He's kind of squatting. And he every now and then turns back to see like what's going on at the fire, but he has a bow in his left hand. He doesn't have an arrow drawn, but he has a bow in his left hand.
Mm-hmm.
And you see closer to you on top of like a large boulder another man who's sitting back, not quite as ready, and he has his bow on his back, and he's just like looking out up the road from the direction that you came. And you can pick out within the firelight a number of people, probably about 8 people total. However, next to the fire, tied up, I'm going to have you make a perception check for me.
Okay. Who's tied up? 13.
Tied up is someone that you have seen before, but this is a dwarf. And if you are not mistaken, this looks to be Beaufrey. He was the dwarf that you had seen at the Fulvermoot.
What did they want Beaufrey for? Okay. Do I see any of the other men? Are they like do they have any like obvious armaments or anything like that?
They look to be decently basically armed. They don't have like the best armor, and you can tell that the clothes that they have are probably just like the clothes that they've been traveling with on their back. But like their weapons look to be good and sturdy make. Whether they're crafters, stole it, or have had them on them, there's no way of really knowing. But they look like fighters. I'm gonna have you make a perception check for me.
All right. 20.
So as you do so, you take a look at kind of the situation on what's going on here.
What's going on?
What is going on? You're ducked behind this tree, kind of down in the corner, and you see a number of individuals. You don't know if they're brigands or anything like that, but there are a few of them that have just your typical swords and shields, some hand axes on them, but 2 look very distinct to you. There's one that's relatively close that doesn't seem to be joining into the frivolity and festivities that are being held by the campfire. This person is just sitting on the side looking like it's skinning something. And then towards the very back of the campfire, you see somebody kind of in the shadows just sitting off, kind of hood down and drawn. But they look clearly larger than everyone else. But they aren't joining in the laughter or anything that's going on, particularly with these 3 that are there. And as you're waiting there kind of in the shadows, you begin to hear one of them chimes in.
Oi! Tell us again how your da saved the world from a dragon. Oh, you're a big one, aren't ya? Why don't we carve you up and sell you at the local market? They won't be able to tell the difference between a dwarf or a pig. And they're just poking fun at this dwarf, and he's just like, he's just like sitting there, basically being just tormented. And there's another one, the third one here. He joins in and he says, "Oi, you mean to tell us that that there's a lord by the name of Mogdred hired you to repair a road? Why into southern Mirkwood? You expect us to believe that? What kind of name is Mogdred anyway?"
and they're just pretty much mocking this character of Beaufry. Beaufry's really not speaking back, kind of like in a defensive way.
Yeah. How far away are we from Tyrant's Hill? Do I know?
Probably you're about a few hours in, less than a day travel from Tyrant's Hill.
Less than a day. But still most of the day, so like...
Yeah, so you're probably about another
5
8 hours,
hours-ish.
8 hours of travel.
Yeah, okay. Too far away to get help then. This is dwarf here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna do something stupid. Alright, yeah. Alright, I'm gonna sneak away from the campfire, and I'm going...
They have not noticed you yet.
Yeah, they haven't noticed me.
Mm-hmm.
But like, this is a very, like, I imagine it's a very well lit area.
Yeah, here I can kind of give you this little like marker. I know it's
just
not
debating what to do. So
just kind of generally speaking, you're probably looking at dim light that goes in this direction, but it probably ducks behind some of the trees. So where the bright light is, it kind of goes into shadow behind kind of the north there of the trees. But if you were to cross the road, you would be bathed in some glow of light.
Yeah, no, that's right. I will go ahead with my stupid, idiotic plan. I will back up the road from where I came, from like a couple hundred feet or so, and then just like making sure that they can't see me from where they are. I'll go onto the road and then just start walking like normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
You do so. And you continue to walk, and you see that at this point, two of them seem to be moving the dwarf, kind of carrying him like this over their shoulders, off into the distance. And as they do so, you make your way up the road, and you hear someone call, "Oi! Who are you? What is that, a child?" And they're just like talking to like amongst themselves, and then just like, "State your purpose."
Hello, friend. Just traveling along a path.
Traveling along a path in southern Mirkwood. What are you doing down here? And you don't
I could ask you the same question.
We're camping, clearly.
Yeah, well, I'm close-ish to my destination, I hope. So, I decided to press on. Night air is absolutely brilliant for the lungs. Ugh, I can't talk today.
Make a persuasion or deception check for me.
Yeah, I think this is more deception. 11.
11. This one gets down off the rock. The one that wasn't quite as concerned. And he walks up to approach you as you continue kind of moving forward in this general direction. And he kind of like stoops down and looks at you. He doesn't have any weapons drawn, but he looks to you and says, "You look a long way from home, little one."
And you look like your bacon is burning.
I told you. And he immediately turns around to this guy that's here. Says, "I told you to keep an eye on that. Is that why you're here? Do you want food?"
Oh, if you're offering, I will gladly partake. Normally, I'm the one that's cooking, which is why my bacon doesn't burn.
What do you think, boss? And the man who was skinning the creature stands up, and he looks to you, and he says, "Interesting. Do come and join us."
My pleasure. And I give like a small sort of bob.
This one says, "Are you sure, boss? This is a little unnatural." And he makes his way back up onto the rock. And This guy over here, he says,
I'm just a little forest child that might be.
exactly. The guy, he calls over. He's like, Haldor, it's okay. It's okay. Our guest looks hungry. And clearly we're not doing the best at not drawing attention to ourselves. So if she wants to be here, if she wants a little bit of our burnt bacon, and he looks like scornfully at this guy here, who are we to stop her? As you begin to walk in the light, you see... I'm going to have to make a perception check, actually.
Okay, yeah. Mission Impossible theme. 14.
14. These two begin to walk, and they seem to be having like a grin on their face, but you're able to look past them and see into a wagon. On the back side of the wagon, you see what looks to be a decently hidden cage. It looks like to be like an iron cage, and slumped inside is the dwarf. You can't... I mean, you knew he was tied up, but clearly he's gagged because he hasn't made any noise or anything of the kind. As far as these people are concerned, you haven't seen him. But on top of the wagon, there looks to be a number of supplies. This looks like stone used for crafting. So they invite you over to the center. And as you sit down, you see that the large individual directly in front of you, he kind of looks up at you. And the one thing that actually catches your surprise is while he is much bigger than everyone, he looks much younger than everyone. And so they kind of come around, and this guy, the one who invited you in, he sits down next to this boy. And he says, so why do we have the honor of seeing you out here alone at night in the middle of Mirkwood? Yes, we are here camping. We are doing what we can to be able to, well, at least keep ourselves safe. You can't be too, you can't be too on your guard when you are this close to southern Mirkwood. And he literally points over to like over the tree line where like these trees gradually start to begin to die.
Yeah. Well, it is as you said. It's unwise to let one's guard down this close to the Mirkwood. I decided it would be safer to continue on during the night rather than bed down. Until I met you, fine folk.
You're brave. Braver than most. And he said, he looks to his men, I couldn't even come out here with half of this retinue and them feel like they're safe. The fact that you're traveling alone, you've earned our respect for now. What do you think, Oderic? And he gives a little like nudge to the boy that's sitting there, and he looks and he's like, oh, what? Brave, yeah. And he kind of looks down. I'm gonna have him make an insight check for me.
Okay, there's something there. 5.
You can't peg this guy. You have no idea if he's antisocial. You have no idea if he's nervous. You have no idea if he's just hungry and wanting bacon. It's a question, but he doesn't seem to have many words to you, and he actually doesn't look you directly in the eyes. He just kind of looks up and then looks down kind of at the fire.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, alright. I'll sort of like try and like start some banter going with like this group of unscrupulous individuals, shall we call them, as I like, prepare a meal. I'll do something with the bacon. Yeah.
He the original man who was talking to you, he comes over and he calls from the top of the rock. And he says, "Oh, you good at cooking? Can you do something about this bacon?"
Well, I can certainly try. Now, the real question is, do you have any potatoes?
What do you think, boss? Farron, I know you're good at trapping things, and, well, I mean, we have that. And he points over to the side, the thing he was skinning. It's right behind you on the floor. I'm going to have you make a nature check for me.
Okay, yeah. 8.
It looks canine,
Hmm.
but it does not look like a wolf. It looks too small to be a wolf.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll glance over and say, What is that? Is that
Oh.
safe to eat?
Well, I cleaned it. I did all that I could to make sure that it was not infected. Whoever this dog's used to be, it is going to be a meal for our belly. We found it here on the road. It was barking its head off, and, well, the only natural thing to do is eat it. And he just looks very matter-of-factly at you.
I suppose. Like, there is some doubt that's entered her voice. Anyway, I suppose. Well, I'm not sure if I could make anything with that. I've never cooked with dog before. Do you have anything else I could use?
He calls over to the guy who's just like right over to his left. He says, to them, Varger, go over. I think we have a couple of rabbits in the back of the wagon. Perhaps our guest here can cook with rabbit. And he looks kind of expectantly at you.
Yeah, I'll nod.
I don't have any potatoes, but I think there's some carrots back there. Grab those while you're at it.
Yeah. I'll, as casually as I can, I will, like, get up and move as if to help them with, like, the stuff.
Okay. Yeah, this one begins to walk by without a second thought, and he starts digging in the back of the wagon.
Yeah.
And as you get up and casually go, I'm going to have you make a deception check for me.
Okay. I don't know what my plan is here. 8. That's not good.
He looks to you and says, where are you going? All of your stuff's on your back, isn't there? You have pots, pans, spices, everything you need.
Oh, I was going to help him with the carrots, but...
Don't worry about him. Well, let's just say Varger, he's been a little in over his head lately. Best not disturb him. He's not very kind to strangers. Make an insight check to me, for me.
I see. 14.
Very clear he's hiding something. He is lying through his teeth and not very well.
Yeah, no, that's alright. Let's go. And I'll sit back down.
So, he looks to you all and says, what kind of meals do you like to cook? Is there anything particular you can do with some rabbit that would, satiate the hunger of weary travelers?
What couldn't I cook with rabbit that wouldn't satiate the hunger of weary travelers? That is the Hobbit guarantee. When you dine with a Hobbit, you dine well.
I see.
So, what would you like? A stew? Perhaps I should fry them up. Perhaps if you have somewhat longer, we could even bake them or roast.
He looks to all the sides, and Farron, he says, seems like we got all night. We're in no rush. What do you say, lads? And they all go, let's roast it. It's been a while. And they begin chatting very excitedly amongst themselves. So much so that the guy next to Oderic, he begins to talk. And he talks to Oderic and says, "Oi, be gracious to our guest. She's offering to cook us a nice meal." And Oderic, he pops his head up and he says, "Thank you very much."
You are most welcome, Oderic. Well, this was your problem with the bacon. Your fire's too bright, and I'll work on making it into proper cooking coals that I can roast with.
And this one actually here, he is very curious about that. This one comes back, he delivers the rabbits, and this one's very curious, and these two are basically talking to each other from across, and this guy is just like watching your technique, like kind of taking mental notes. These two are just keeping watch, looking on basically up and down either way. They haven't said much, but these two begin talking to each other from across the way, and just kind of casually, like you can tell that they are very relaxed now, seeing that everything is happening. You've done a pretty good job deceiving them, but they begin to start.
I'm this little hobbit lady.
Exactly. They begin talking to Oderic, the two of them, and they say,
Boss says you're a strong fighter with promise in you. Tell me, have you ever used a blade before?
and Oderic, he like looks and he's, yeah. And the other one from across the way, he says, is that so? Why don't you show me? I've been itching to have a go at this new, and he looks back at the wagon and then looks back, this hand axe that I recently acquired. Oderic, he kind of looks and doesn't really say anything. It's awkwardly quiet as they just like look. He has a sword at his side, Oderic does, but he doesn't move either way to do anything for that. And the whole time, actually, while that's happening, is the big boss boy, Farron. He looks at you and he says, so tell me a little bit about yourself. Where do you come from? Where are you heading? Like, very casually.
I see. Oh, where don't I come from? I've been traveling Wilderland for quite a while now. And as to where I'm going, well, I suppose I'm going to more Wilderland. May eventually take me to Dale or Esgaroth. I hear the Misty Mountain is quite nice in the winter.
The guy next to you says,
Oh, high ambitions. Clearly you're adept at survival out here. Finnar.
No set plans, shall we say.
Finnar, do you think she could be useful? Well, outside of cooking this delicious-smelling feast.
Finnar just stares and just like offers you to keep continuing your conversation, just ignoring the one guy.
If I may, you seem like a well-armed group of individuals. Are you mercenaries?
Let's just say we're more of survivalists, if that makes sense.
Survivalists?
Indeed. Make an insight check for me.
Okay. It's so funny that we're lying to each other. It's hilarious.
Yep.
It's a 3. But I know he's lying.
Yeah, he looks to you and he says, yeah, survivalists, and he kind of looks at the chatter. At this point, this boy here, he's started to actually rise to his feet, and he walks over and he gets in the face of Oderic, actually, and he says, hey, something wrong with you? I asked you for a spar. And Oderic is just like, and immediately, Farron, he says, just leave it. Enough. This has had it rough of late. Just let him go. And then the boy, the guy who's talking to Oderic, he says, yeah? Was it something about the fellow in Stonyford? You don't see eye to eye with him, do ya? Are you having some kind of a lover's quarrel or something? And Oderic, you can see that he clenches his fists and he yells, enough! And he stands up and he rises probably a solid 6 inches above this guy. And he kind of stumbles back and is just like, that's the fire I like to spark in you. So what say you for a little spar? And Oderic, he just stares at the ground and he grumbles. I'm going to have you make a perception check for me.
14.
He's grumbling to himself, but before you can pick out what he's saying, the guy on the other side says, "Hey, jeez, calm down, buddy. It's just a question." And he puts his hand on his shoulders as he's like trying to push him down back into a sitting position. But you could always just off him. You do know you can do that. That is, unless you got the stones. And the
I'll
group
like
laughs.
turn to the leader
Mhm.
as this happens, and I'll just say, you know, if you're trying to recruit me, I'll have to decline. I can't say I much appreciate the way that you folk treat each other.
Farron, he looks and he kind of gives you like a nod, a little bit of understanding, and says, they're young. They're spoiled. We've got it good out here, but he says, but as you're listening, you hear Derek, and he mumbles, "I could do it, for her." And immediately, Farron, he kind of breaks his kind of calmness and his concentration, and he looks to the two of them, and he's like, "Get off the subject. Voltaire. Well, Voltaire has plans for the boy. Don't go scaring him off." "I'm sorry. I apologize for my companions. We appreciate your cooking, and we understand if you don't particularly want to join us in our survivalist endeavors."
Well, I have to say, it looks like he, and I'll gesture with my head to Oderic? Oderic, yeah. Well, it looks like your friend Oderic doesn't particularly want to be here either.
Oderic, he looks
I can pay good coin for anyone who's willing to escort me through my travels. If that means anything to any of you.
They kind of begin to like bicker amongst themselves, but Farron, he puts his hand up and says, here now, let's listen to her. Where are you, hoping to be escorted to?"
To the end of this road.
Deeper into the Mirkwood.
Nod.
We didn't particularly have plans for that. There's not much out there than blight and, if you're so keen, orcs and whatnot. It makes me question your motives as well. And you seem to have piqued our interest. Tell me, after we escort you, what then?
Then you, well then, if I like your services, I may hire you again. Or if I don't, then you're free to leave and do as you wish.
Make a persuasion check for me.
Okay. This is not where I thought this session would go. 6.
6. Well, better yet, we got perhaps other plans. We will escort you. But not as a free person. In chains. And all of them begin to stand up, with the exception of Oderic. And they begin laughing to themselves. You have a moment to decide what to do before any kind of combat or anything begins.
Okay, hang on. Let me count squares here.
Yeah.
So I can only get to there before combat begins, you said?
Mm-hmm.
So if I take the dash action, I could get to the wagon.
Could, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
All right, perfect. You begin just booking it.
Yeah.
So exactly where do you want to go? So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30?
Yeah,
35.
and then I'll... can I actually, like, slide underneath the wagon and pop up on the other side?
Yeah, make an acrobatics check for me.
Slay. Yeah. Hang on. Acrobatics. There we go. Ugh. 4.
You're able to
Not going
slide
well right now.
under the wagon, and as you do so,
Yeah.
you see that they all get up. You're not able to get to the other side, but at this point,
That's
you can
fine.
hear a from Beaufry up top. The rest of them begin to surround the wagon, and they're like, "Oi, get her, lads. She's seen and heard too much. Voltaire will want to be seeing her." And you can tell that they all begin to start moving in this general direction, surrounding the wagon as best as they can. I'm going to have you roll for initiative for me.
Okay. Perfect. Honestly, I'm surprised that went as well as it did.
That was
15.
impressive. 15. Perfect. Well, it is going to be your turn. So.
Oh, slay. Perfect. So, I'd like to climb on top of the wagon and see what I'm working with here.
Perfect. You do so. You climb up on top, and you see that there is kind of like this cage. It's probably a cage for some kind of animal. It looks to be made of iron, and has a, from your estimations, a pretty simple lock on it. You see Beaufry inside.
Okay.
He's tied by rope, and he has a gag, and he looks at you. You can see that immediately there's a sense of recognition, but he's going like this, like, go away.
So he's telling me to run.
He's telling you to run.
Oh, do I listen to him? Okay, technically, I will leave this up to a DM decision because I fully intended to acquire some more lockpicking things.
Yeah.
Before I left, but I completely forgot. So it's up to you whether you want, like, you're okay with me retroactively
Before you left, where?
getting some. Probably Woodman Hole.
Okay.
Would be
I would say
the place, I think.
first and foremost, I'm gonna have you make an investigation check as you looked for something that you would be able to use.
Some hairpins.
Yeah,
oh,
some
5.
hairpins.
No,
or something.
3.
3. Unfortunately, not anything that could be used as tools. I would say that you probably have a hairpin, meaning you have one of these to be able to use at disadvantage if you wanted to attempt to pick. Better than nothing.
Yeah, better than nothing. I will do that at disadvantage.
All right, perfect.
That's perfectly fine with me. Sleight of hand?
Sleight of hand, yep.
Easy. I'm not losing anything by doing this. 14.
14. You take a hairpin and you begin to reach around, and then bing, the lock snaps open in the cage, and you see Beaufry, and he's looking at you just like baffled, like, what is going on? Like, what is happening?
I take a moment to, like, pick up the lock and throw it as far as I can into the bushes so they can't find it again.
Okay.
And then there's probably a bonus action to that, so I'll draw my dagger in preparation to cut Beaufry loose.
Perfect. As you do so, they begin to move in. The ones that are on the bow people that are on the rocks, they get off, they scramble down 15, 20, 25, and they begin trying to surround 25, 30, and these ones begin to start around as best as they can. You hear Farron say, "Surround him! Don't let him escape!" And as they do so, they're trying to cover their bases. They haven't done anything as far as like trying to jump or grab you at this point. They seem to be kind of waiting on what you're doing. Oderic, he's going to start making his way slowly. Climbs up on top of the rock, and you can see that he immediately draws his blade, but his eyes are not focused on you. His eyes are focused up the road.
Okay. Interesting.
It is your turn.
Okay, perfect. Can I use a bonus action to, like, slash through Beaufry's bonds and, like, break him free?
Yep.
Easy. Done. Okay. And then I'll, like, quickly say to Beaufry, questions later. Now we need to run. Can you run?
I can do that.
Okay. Follow me as best you can. And then I'm going to, what am I going to do? I'm going to take the disengage action.
Okay.
And then I'm going to run like this way. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so that's 25 feet there.
Okay.
2, 3. Yeah, that.
You begin running up the road, and Beaufry, he looks to you. He's like, "Oi, not so fast! I'm not quite as slippery as you." And he looks kind of on either side, and he looks like around like his cart to see if he can find something. And he grabs what like basically a large kind of like stick for something, and
Sure.
he's like, "Oi." And at this point, the others, they begin to call her like, "Oi, bagger, she's getting away!" And then you hear Farron, he says, "I don't solely her for the boss. Voltaire's been looking for someone of her skills." And they're going to start making their way. 20, 5, 10, 15, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And they're just going to move 15, 20, 25, 30, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And this one's gonna stay put on the other side. And this guy, Feinar, he's gonna come over here and says,
Oh, easy does it, Dwarfy. Easy does it.
and he pulls out a sack, as if to put it over his head. But all three of these guys are going to attempt to restrain you. And so what they're going to be doing is they're going to attempt to grapple you. So with that, they're going to do a physical skill checks with each individually contested against an acrobatics check from you. So we're gonna start with this guy. I guess you could do athletics if you'd rather do athletics, but
nope, definitely not. Yeah, it's a +2 or a -2. I wonder which I'll choose.
So this first guy gets an 8.
I got a 19 on acrobatics.
All right, that guy is unable to grab you. This person attempts to grab you as well. He got an 18.
Oh, 18 as well.
18. What is your overall dex score?
Overall is it's +2. 14 dexterity.
You are able to just escape his grasps as he attempts to hold you in place. Last one. This guy is going to attempt to grab you. Go ahead and make a check.
14.
That's a 16. He successfully grabs your wrist. But does it like kind of restrains you, but it's technically a grapple, but he grabs your wrist, the one that you're holding your sword in, and he's just like, "Oi, not quite yet. You're coming with us." And he's like, "Lads, get the bags." And they're gonna start to prepare for that. Beaufry, he looks around and he says, "Oi," and he takes his basically stick and he's going to attempt to bonk Farron with it. With that, and he does so successfully, dealing 3 points of bludgeoning damage to him. Boom! He's going to make a dexterity saving throw to see if he falls off the wagon. And he fails his dexterity save with a 6. Falls backwards off the wagon, prone on his back. And immediately you hear Oderic, you can hear him draw his sword as he points it in your general direction. And he says, "Hey! Everybody incoming!" And with that, you begin to hear the sound of horse hooves coming from up the road. It is your turn.
My turn?
Your turn.
Okay, so like the guy who said, "Oh, you're not going anywhere," I'll be like, "That's what you think." And I would like to, so I've got my sword in that hand and he's like holding it. I'd like to, with my offhand, draw my dagger and stab him in the wrist, like just there.
Okay.
To try and force him to let me go.
Go ahead and make an attack roll.
Okay. Let me find. Oh, yeah, hang on. It's been a while since I've had to do this.
No worries at all.
Okay. 18 to hit.
18 will definitely hit. Most definitely. Go ahead and roll damage on that.
3 damage.
3 damage.
But-
You slit his, like basically pierce his wrist. He lets you go. He's
Yeah.
oh, blimey! And he looks down at you. It's just like, what are you all looking at there for? And he's just like holding his wrist, just like, freaking little, and just he looked pissed.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got the rest of your turn.
No, that's okay.
That was your-
I would like to bonus action, disengage.
Mhm.
One, two, 3, 4, 5, I guess.
Okay.
And then I'll wait there, I guess.
You do so, and you slipped right past them. They're like, for Christ's sake! And they're just like, someone pin them down. Come on.
I love Jess so much.
Yeah, Jess is slippery. They're going to continue. This guy who had his bag up, he's gonna go ahead and draw his sword. As he looks up, he turns to Oderic, who's like, "What do you see there?" And then Oderic, he calls out, "Incoming! I see 4 horses! Off in the distance!" And he has a sword drawn. He's looking at you, Jess. He looks conflicted. I can say you can use a reaction to try to persuade him to do something.
Yeah,
however
sure.
you want to.
There's my friends, come to look for me. I will say, Oderic, you haven't done anything to hurt me yet, so if you stick around, you might not have to work with this mob anymore.
Make a persuasion check for me.
I gotta say, you seemed like a really nice guy. I'd hate to see that go badly for you. I got a 9.
9. You look up at him and you see his presence itself is undeniable. This boy is a young Beorning. He stands out in contrast to the rest of them. And he...
Okay, as soon as I, realize that, I am going to say, I know Beorn, he's not too far from here, and I've been traveling with him for the last week. He's not going to be happy if anything happens to me.
His face immediately falls into dread. As he just looks to you and he calls out. He says, guys, I think we should run." Farron he says, "Oi!" He stands back up, rubbing the back of his head. He looks around and is just like, "You haven't bagged him yet? Get with it. What do you think Voltaire is going to say if we fail him?" And you can see Oderic's conflicted. However, he looks like he's about to turn tail and book it. He looks like he is just going to run. He looks afraid and frightened. And with that being the case, the rest of them are going to. This guy's going to jump up and attempt to bag Beaufrey. So let's see.
Woo.
He fails to grapple. This one's going to jump up onto the wagon. And he's going to do the same. He does successfully grapple Beaufrey. And Beaufrey's just like, "Oi, get your hands off me, you bloody..." And he's just like, "Oh, you're gonna pay for this." And with that brings us to Oderic's turn, and he is going to jump down, and he's going to make 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and he's going to crouch behind this boulder. He still has eyes on you, though, Jess. And at this turn, you can hear as arriving on the scene, you see 4 riders. They are adorned in the armor of Tyrant's Hill. And they come swooping in, and they have blades drawn, all of them carrying spears in their hands. And they come riding in, making way for one rider who is a very, very familiar voice from what you can see, helmeted. "Well. Look what we have here. You got quite the spirit for people who are intruding on, well, the territory of the Lord of Tyrant's Hill. And it's Dagmar who comes in, and she has a spear drawn, and she points at these, basically these ruffians and says, "Lay down your arms, and perhaps you can keep them." And she flourishes her blade and immediately strikes out at this dude. She hits gloriously as she takes her spear and shoves it into... I guess this is the guy who... No, this isn't the guy who got stabbed in the hand.
No.
She stabs it into basically the shoulder of this guy and rips downward, and this blood begins to flow, and the guy's like, "Oh, for blimey! Run! They got horses! Into the woods! Into the trees!" And this guy, Dagmar very confidently, Now, we're just having fun. Tell me, why are you here?" And she looks at the cart, and you see a hint of recognition at the cart. Are you taking our road builder away from us? Ooh.
Yes, that's exactly what they're doing.
Lord Markdread will not be too happy about this. Lay down your arms and you will come with me, and you will keep your lives, if not, to the death. And with that, all of them begin to drop their weapons. They are frightened.
Do they drop Beaufry as well?
These guys that are up in the cart, it is not their turn yet. You'll see what happens when it does come. But Jess, it is your turn.
Oh, perfect. All right. If I do an insight check, can I see if they're like going to drop Beaufry or if they need some extra incentivizing?
Yep, make a insight check. Absolutely.
Would this be like? I'd be happy for this to be a bonus action if you wanted, or if
Sure.
just get it.
I would say just a free action, because it's just kind of like observing. You're not interacting with anything. You're just like looking to see like what's happening.
Insight is 7.
7. They seem a little skittish and frightened. The one that has Beaufry in the bag doesn't seem to have intentions of letting go quite yet, but the other one on the other side seems to have started to climb down the side of the wagon.
All right, let's see if we can incentivize them.
Okay.
I don't want to go into that part of Mirkwood in order to hide. That's going to be a bad time. So I'm just going to go around here and to get a better shot. And I'm going to try and stick him with my bow.
Which one? The one that's holding on to Beaufry?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I put my short bow away.
Go ahead and make an attack, a ranged attack.
Yeah. Once again, this is with the intention of making him drop Beaufry. I don't think I hit. I got a 7.
7 will not hit, unfortunately. It just goes off into the distance. It's just like, blimey, what is going on here? Our peaceful bacon evening has turned into...
I'm like, he looks around and I make direct eye contact with him. And then... No, I don't really have enough movement to go there. Oh yeah, but if I use my bonus action to dash, then I can get to behind this rock here.
Okay, perfect. And with that brings us to the bandit's turn. This guy kind of standing his ground. He looks. This one begins to step backwards as if to retreat. 20, 25, 30. He's going to move this way. This guy who started climbing down is just, this ain't worth it. This ain't worth it. And he just begins booking. And he flees the combat. This one, the one that was holding Beaufry, he looks to his boss, and his boss just like, and you can hear, what Voltaire doesn't know won't hurt him. Fall back for now. We'll regroup later. And 5, 10, 15, 20. He's going to go ahead and flee the combat. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. He's making his way this way. 5, 10, 15. He's fleeing the combat. This guy is currently in combat with a spear, so he's not going anywhere. He actually will attempt to disengage.
Mhm.
And so he's gonna use his disengage action to do that. He's gonna go 5, 10.
Does Dagmar have the sentinel feat?
She does not have Sentinel. That'd be sweet, but she doesn't.
That'd be amazing.
And this guy runs off with a blood trail.
I'm gonna
following.
start a petition to give Dagmar the sentinel feat.
There you go. I love it. And this guy, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. They're beginning to scatter. Bolfrey, it is his turn. He looks around and he as he just rips the bag off his head and he's like reorienting himself, like what is going on. And finally, it's Oderic, who he takes one last look, and he locks eyes with you, specifically Jess. I'm gonna have you make an insight check for me.
For the record, my face is very much like, what are you gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
8 for insight.
He seems scared, and with that, he's starting to make his way off in the far direction. Which brings us to the top of the round, meaning Dagmar, and she says, "That's right, flee. We'll find ya, if Mirkwood doesn't already." And she begins to ride up, and she takes one look at Beaufrey and says, "Ah, there's our stonemason. Sorry about that. Well, I think you deserve a little break for the night." And with that, she is going to offer his hand down and plop him down on the ground. The rest of the warriors, they come in 30, 35. They're going to basically start just coming in here and running down whoever they can. And with that, we're going to end our combat. Everybody, so basically...
Can I yell out to Oderic before...
Yeah, feel free.
He leaves completely? I'll just, come out of hiding and just, dash after him, calling, Oderic! Oderic! I'll chase him down in the woods if I have to. Just, yelling his name.
He does escape as you follow him down through. Yeah. You can hear the as you begin to follow him. I'm gonna have you make a survival check as you go into the Mirkwood.
I can do 75 feet per round if I do movement, bonus action dash, normal dash. So.
Okay. Wow, that's crazy.
Was it survival?
Yeah, survival check. And so it's kind of just navigating the woods as opposed to trying to keep up, because I think you can easily keep up. It's just seeing if you lose him.
11.
11. That is going to be a contested check to see. And that is going to be a 16. He successfully escapes. But if you have any words to tell to him, he probably can hear you.
Okay, as I'm just chasing him.
Yeah, as you're chasing him. If you
Derek, I don't know what your story is, but I'd love to hear more. If you can help us catch these guys, I'm sure I could put in a good word with you, with Lord Mogdred. I don't know what your story is. It seems like you just didn't really want to be here and you just fell into these guys. So, you know where to find us. Ox or Jess mine. Okay, I'm going to leave now.
I'm going to have you make a persuasion check for me.
I don't know why I'm so invested in this random dude. It's just, all my characters are the exact same character.
It's okay. Sometimes it's hard to keep that out of your personality. It's like,
no, I like it though. I like
great.
having characters that care.
I absolutely agree. Especially being a treasure hunter character, that tends to not be the case. So,
I mean,
a rogue.
maybe.
Absolutely. What was your persuasion check? Oh, I think I lost you. And we lost Jess for a hot sec. I don't know if Jess can still hear me, but with that being the case, oh, you're back. Hi.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry. I got an 8.
8. Okay. All right. And you begin to turn back. At this point, you return to the makeshift camp, and you see Dagmar has basically bound one of the archers. Everybody else had escaped. And Bulfrey, he's pretty shaken up, but he is sitting there basically like thanking up and down Dagmar, and Dagmar's basically just rubbing him off, like, just doing my job, just doing my job. And she looks around, there was somebody else here.
Yeah.
Um,
I take a moment to appreciate the scene before I remember that, I have rabbit cooking, so I could run up and check them.
You run up to the campfire and you begin to just and you cook it up. And Dagmar, she looks over and makes her way over to the side here and says,
"Ah, we meet again, Dagmar.
What are you doing here?" And she looks
Oh,
like
wait,
very
no, you
concerned.
didn't beat me the first time because I was hiding behind a tree. Hi, I'm Jessica. And I'll like reach out my hand for her to shake.
She looks at the hand and says, "Again, what are you doing here?"
I awkwardly withdraw the hand. Well, funny story. I was on my way to Torrance Hill. Lord Mogdred has. Well, he said if I was ever in the area, I should stop by. So I thought I'd stop and see how this alliance with the Woodmen is going. And then she'll like look towards Beaufry and just say, "It seems to be going pretty well if you have a dwarf stonemason to fix your road."
She snaps.
Anyway.
She snaps her fingers, and her horse comes running up to the side and says, "Well, that remains to be seen." And she pulls out of a saddlebag a large, basically, like, book. And she goes through it, and she says, "Name?"
Just my Sackville Baggins.
Yes, mine. She turns page. "When did you say you met our lord?"
At Falkmute.
Okay. And she goes back a few pages. "Jessamine Sackville Baggins. Welcome at Tyrant's Hill. As long as she cooks a meal for me."
I sort of like look and like gesture towards the rabbits that smell delicious, by the way.
That seems to check out. And as she puts the book back into the saddlebag, she looks down at her feet, and she sees the hound, and is like, "You're one of my favorites."
Yeah.
And she looks back, and she looks to you and says, "Were you captured? What is your relationship with these people?"
Well, I was trying to sleep. I was hungry, and I could smell bacon cooking. So I snuck up and investigated the camp, saw Beaufry there tied up, decided that the best course of action was to try and like pretend to be their friends, see if I could get them closer to Tyrant's Hill and either have the opportunity to free Beaufry there or run to you guys for help.
She looks to you, and she's like kind of like examining you, and she points down to your side. "Are you any good with that?" And she points to the sword.
Well, yes, but not when it's 8 against 1 or 2.
Well.
Anyway, I don't know why they wanted to, but they seemed keen on taking me to their leader, this, what's his name? I wrote it down. Viglon? Olgard?
Viglund. The name doesn't ring a bell. Perhaps that's something for the ears of Lord Mogdred.
Yeah, so they tried to capture me, so then I had to stage a very abrupt rescue attempt, and then you came along just as they were about to bag us all up.
Well, I'm glad that we could come, if anything, for the saving of our stonemason, but any friend of Lord Mogdred is a friend of mine. And she reaches her hand out as if to accept the earlier offer gesture.
I reach my hand out and instead of like shaking up and down, I just clasp it.
And with a
my
very firm
signature
single shake.
reassuring touch.
Beautiful, and with a like very
Yeah.
single like shake, she does so, and she takes her spear and she draws it and says, "You said you held your own 8 against 1."
No, I remember specifically not saying that.
Be it you're alive.
Alive and unimprisoned, thanks in large part to you.
We're just doing our job, serving our lord and protecting our lands as we can. You see, we've hired Beaufrey, seems you're familiar, to repair the road between the rest of the woodman settlements and, well, the relatively unused roads here that connect Tyrant's Hill. In past years, this belonged to the enemy. Now, well, allies of the woodmen and all, we're connecting our settlements to see what best we can do to be able to improve travel to and from, and it is my duty to be able to keep these roads secure, and to, well, our unfortunate, slight mishap. I'm glad to see that we didn't just save our stonemason, but also a friend of Lord Mogdred.
I am also glad that you were able to save both of us. It was a well-timed intervention. But yeah, you must have your reward. These bandits were very kind and provided this lovely brace of rabbits for us to enjoy.
Rabbits. It's been a while to have rabbit. You see, not a lot of game is out and around Tyrant's Hill. We're still doing what we can to to keep the orca from Fenbridge from, well, crossing the road here into northern Mirkwood. It's become more and more of a chore these days, hunting them down in the trees on the roads, as opposed to, well, as much of a menace. They seem relatively unorganized at this point, but I will not deny myself and my companions a meal.
Please, help yourself.
And she sits down and she, like, reaches out to grab. With zero manners, she just reaches out of the pan and just, like, grabs, like, the hot, like, haunch of, like, a rabbit and just begins kind of, like, sniffing it and, like, takes a bite. And this is scorching hot, but she doesn't, like, flinch at all.
Oh my god. I am impressed. I'm a little disgusted, but I'm a little bit impressed.
Oh, this is pretty good. Pretty good. What is this? Cumin? No. Make it an insight check for me.
Okay, here we go. It's an old family recipe. Tried and true. Insight 7.
She has no idea what she's talking about. She's just making chit chat.
Man,
but
I
she's
barely
enjoying.
know.
Yeah. She just begins eating and says, "You're going to, in the middle of bites, meet Lord Mogdred at Tyrant's Hill. Well, you should come back with us and Beaufrey. We can at least offer you protection on the road until you get there, and, well, the business that you need to have is, well, between you and Lord Mogdred. I need not know what you're doing, but I am quite impressed that you survived up until this point."
Well, I had a little bit of help. In all honesty, this is the first day I've been traveling by myself the last couple of weeks, and I ran into trouble my first night. First night solo, isn't that funny? I don't know.
No, that's pretty normal on this road. Whoever you were traveling with before must really not care for you to just let you wander southern Mirkwood all by your lonesome. Which is very matter of fact. Very blunt.
I wouldn't say that. Perhaps he has more faith in my abilities than you do.
I did say I was impressed, didn't I? We all have our own skills. We all have our way to do it. For mine, and she looks at her spear, mine is, well, ever since I can remember, I had to fight for survival. Sheer brunt force. It's what makes me, at least the right hand of Lord Mogdred here on the roads, protecting his kingdom, per se, but you, and she like kind of looks at your stature. Perhaps you have a different way of fighting.
Yes, perhaps so.
Mm. And my fighting style, your fighting style, has led us to be alive up until this point, hasn't it?
It has. It's a very nice way of looking at it, Mordred.
I will
Dagon.
not. I
Damn
will
it.
not
Wrong
rescind.
name.
Yeah, please.
Sorry.
I will not rescind my comment. And between us, I'm very happy to see you alive. It's not fun to see innocents harmed in, well, our duties. Fortunately, not a lot of travelers wander this direction, so we can, for lack of a better term, go ham when it comes to fighting off the orcs. We're not so used to fighting and protecting, per se.
Well, if you'll take a bit of advice from one of said innocents, then I would suggest get used to it.
Perhaps. I know it's
If
a rapidly
Tyrant's Hill
changing
is to
world.
if Tyrant's Hill is to survive, it must establish greater connections with the rest of the woodmen, must it not?
Indeed, hence the reason we hired this dwarf stonemason. One step at a time, Lord Modred says, and, well,
He's right.
we'll see. If you would like to join us on our trip back, I will not stop you, but the invitation stands as is.
I would love to. Although I think for now, I would love to get some sleep.
Here. And she basically guides you over to the wagon. And she...
The cage. You're
the
gonna make me sleep
cage,
in the
yeah.
cage.
She literally with like one arm takes the cage and just chucks it off to the side. And she lays kind of like moves some of the stone and says, Beaufry, take care of her. Take the pony. Follow us. We'll protect your caravan on the way back. Here, you. And she points to you, Jess. Sleep here. And she, without even like waiting for you to like answer, she picks you up and just plops you into the wagon.
I want to be offended, but I'm too impressed to be.
Now,
Cool.
Lord Mogred awaits. Shall we?
By all means, let's go.
And with that, you begin to make your way up the path, the kind of path. You can tell that this part is the part that has started to be worked on. All the way up until about this point, Beaufry has very skillfully created stone roads, and so it's pretty easy to travel through here. And it probably takes you a few hours.
Can I ask Beaufry, like, how he was captured? And like, did the bandits say anything about why he was captured? Like, it seems pretty random for a stonemason to be captured in the middle of the Mirkwood.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, on the edge of the Mirkwood, whatever.
Beaufry, he actually says to you,
Aye, good question indeed. To be honest, between us, our relationship with, the woodmen, all the way up until we had the full commute, has been not great. There were a few of the people here that perhaps you recognized. I'm gonna have you make a history check.
Okay, yeah. So my strongest subject, 12.
You did recognize one in particular around the campfire, the one sitting directly to the right of Oderic. He was one of the guards that was at the Folkmoot.
Okay.
You recognized his face, but Beaufry, he said,
well, clearly one of them recognized me, and, one thing led to another. They knew that I was important to the woodmen, and based off of what I was overhearing them say, they planned to take down the woodmen to a degree.
Well, they might have a bit of trouble doing that.
do agree.
Woodman.
The fact that
The woodman
we
might
allowed
object to that.
the fact that we allowed Mogdred and Tyrant's Hill to be able to help us. Well, it has proved at least useful, saved my life here today. And if we can convince them to keep doing so, building our relations, perhaps there's hope yet. This isn't my initial ambition, building this road between Tyrant's Hill and, Roskabel and the rest of the settlements, but my true goal is to restore the old forest road, one that went far into, disrepair, years and years ago. It was the safest path for dwarves to be able to cross through the Mirkwood, and I want to be able to help the relations between the dwarves of the Blue Mountains, where I come from, and the dwarves of my father's people, all the way up in Erebor. And by repairing that road, well, they promised that if I'd help them repair this road, they would give me all the resources that I would need to repair the Old Forest Road. So for those who don't know, the Old Forest Road is this one.
Yeah.
That goes right through the
That's the one that dwarves took through the Mirkwood in the Hobbit, right?
I believe it was the elf path that they took. They originally
really?
were going to take the Old Forest Road, and it was like, because it was in such disrepair, Gandalf told them to take the elf path. And
Okay, never mind. Ignore me.
but it's like it's
Yeah,
like
I thought I was
disrepair.
being slick with the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, no
trivia,
worries.
but
I mean, no worries at all. It's something, that's for sure.
that's all good.
Yeah. But with that, you as time passes and you begin talking, you notice that the landscape around you begins to change. It climbs up and up and up as you start to get into more hilly region. At a certain point, you get up above the tree line, and you can see rising up above in front of you the Tower of Tyrant's Hill. It's a tower with a ring fort around it. It's like a very old and quite evil-looking ring fort, as it were. It's made of blackened iron and has rusted with age. This thing looks to be something of the enemy, something that orcs created. Probably, I mean, I guess that's probably your best guess. This is nothing like what the woodmen have built. Anything you have seen. This is hideous to look at, and you can see as you look around, all of the land that surrounds it is desecrated and defiled. Nothing grows, but it has a perfect vantage point. You see at the very top of this tower. This tower probably rises a solid 6-7 stories in height. It has a perfect view of the surrounding areas, and as you reach the top of the hill, you can see off far into the distance in the south, the top tips of the tower of what you can only assume is Fenbridge Castle, and that is where we're going to end our session for tonight. We'll go over outside what you've learned, and we can include that when we get everybody back together about like what happened at Tyrant's Hill, and I'll give you a nice little brief discourse on that. But yeah, that's what we're going to do. I know we're a little over time. A lot happened. We spent a lot more time than I thought we were going to back in what's it called, Easterly Inn. But I'm very happy that we could cover as much as we did. Fun role play. But what are your thoughts on tonight's session?
It was really interesting.
Fell all over the place.
Sorry? Yeah, it was a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you really had me worried in the beginning, and I'm like, oh no, am I gonna have to take a detour journey to Ox of Yawnings about this giant bear that just appeared in the middle of the woods?
Gigantic.
But no,
yeah.
Honestly, meeting Bjorn was absolutely goated. No, no question about it. He does kind of remind me of Halson from PG3.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah,
you didn't
absolutely.
think about that?
No, not at all. Literally down to the fact he turns into a bear. Yeah.
Right?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Oh man, I put him in my party for the first time today. That was fun.
I feel like he's a little
Anyway.
more charismatic probably than Beorn, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
Just a little bit.
slightly.
I think Halson is the domesticated version of Bayonne.
I would agree with that. That actually
I'm
is
just gonna put
the
that out there.
perfect way to explain it. Absolutely, 100%.
Like Bayonne, on some level, is always going to be a wild animal. Like
Mhm.
even if he's not shape changed, just like I believe he's always gonna have some amount of like
Yeah,
bestiality to him.
for sure.
No, um, but yeah, no, it was good to see Griselda again. I'm so psyched that I managed to get rid of all my points of shadow. I
That was
did not
crazy.
think that was
What a good roll.
going
So
to happen.
with this, I don't want you to ever feel like doing the remove shadow option is a like option that is a waste.
Time.
You will
Yeah.
always remove some shadow, no matter how bad your wisdom saving throw is. But that was really good. The fact that you're able to literally remove all of your shadow is because you gained what 5 points of shadow on that adventure. So
Yeah.
solid. That's great.
So yeah, no, it was brilliant. I like thoroughly satisfied with that. Yep, that was worth a pit stop. And then yeah, I got to see my girl Dagmar in action. That's
You
amazing.
Did. And I wasn't able to quite get to it yet, but I had planned a small training session where you and Dagmar were going to spar and like to kind of see like what was going on, and where you learn. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just the time. But in that sparring session, so we can say it now as part of the stream. In that sparring session, you learned the ability to be able to like jump in and basically use your dexterity and your small stature to overcome like her sheer brawn. And so you're gonna learn your trait with that. And I'm gonna say you also, by speaking with Lord Mogdred, we can come back to that. Like at the beginning of another session, maybe we can have like a very brief like reflection back to like your time spent.
Anything that's roleplay brief, you have to at least devote half an hour for.
Yeah, and half an hour is fine, even if what that means is we start a half hour early, like on one of our sessions before everyone else can join.
I don't 100% do that. Like, I can, like, I know that Dom can't get here until like 8:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time, but like I'm good to go around 8 anytime. So
perfect. So maybe when the whole group gets back together, we can start at 8 and we can see like exactly like what happens in your conversation with Mogdred and where that leads you, because I think that's important for you to kind of discover that, as opposed to me just like lore dump for you. So you can have information to bring back from Tyrant's Hill of stuff that you've learned, you role played through, and so we'll absolutely do that. So next time we do meet,
I want you to write that down so you don't forget it.
No worries, I got you.
Perfect. Okay, yeah. No, like I don't know if I've said this before, but like Dagmar is kind of how I envision Jalen to begin with. So seeing like a fully realized version of that, and I'm just like, I don't know how to interact with this person.
Freaking kicks butt. Yeah, absolutely.
She's awesome. Yeah. I love her.
She's super cool.
She doesn't love anything, but I love her.
She loves her lord. That's the one thing about her is like great. Her one of the things I really like about her characteristics and the way that she's written is it seems like there's not a lot about her, but like she is like loyal to a fault, which I think creates a lot of depth to the character. It's like kind of finding out the reasons like why she is this way or whatnot. It's just like she like her presence brings up a lot of questions and like what she's about, and she seems so simple, but there's a lot of depth to that. And so hopefully you'll see her in future adventures and see everything that's going on. But yeah, she's very, very loyal to Tyrant's Hill. So.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She's great.
Like no notes whatsoever. Like I fully forgot that Jess had never officially met her before.
Just witness from the side.
Yeah, from the tree line. Yeah, because like we didn't know that like they were good people then.
I was actually really curious to see what was going to happen if because you knew about her but she didn't know about you, if like what your reaction, like your initial reaction would be to like, oh yeah, like I know you should go, like take one lucky and just be like, who the heck are you? Like, what is going on? Yeah, which he
Who are
kind of
you?
was, but yeah, I just like you going back to the fire and just like continuing cooking and doing your thing, not concerned about the fact that the police have come and just like chased everyone off.
Bro,
Just
I called the police.
yeah,
I'm not worried at all.
absolutely.
All right, yeah, I think that was sort of my thoughts on the session. It was great.
It's great. Perfect.
Loved it.
Thank
Beautiful.
you so much. Thank you so much. We're very I'm very excited to continue to see where the rest of this goes at the beginning.
Yeah.
But I think for now it's cool. I love how like each of these kind of pseudo revelation episode type things kind of give us a little bit of a glimpse into the lives of like what's going on individually with each person, but like very much interacting with different characters in the world too. And I think like the fellowship phase is a perfect ability to be able to do that. And I know Feanor's literally going into a completely different area, so we'll see what happens there. It'll be fun. I hope you can
Yeah,
watch.
yeah.
I hope you can watch Spider for that because it'll
Where
be
is-
a lot of Jalen stuff.
Oh yeah, I will be there. If it's Jalen stuff, I will. 100%.
A lot of
Make
Jalen stuff,
time.
and so yeah, we're excited without spoiling too much
I'm
for that,
excited.
but yeah, it'll be sweet. And so we can kind of relive a little bit of like your old character with that, but then he'll be able to interact with all kinds of people in a completely different area. Theodric has already done so, and yeah, just hopefully as we continue these adventures we'll start to piece pieces together and kind of create like a broader like scope of like, this is Wilderland, these are all the players in it, now what? It's gonna be cool. I'm excited.
It's gonna be great. I love it.
Well, thank you so much. I know
Awesome.
it's late. Do
Oh
you have
no, it's
any last things to add before we do head off for the night?
I don't think so. I'm good. I'm
Well,
great.
thank you all so much for watching and sticking with us. Thank you so much again, Spider, for taking the time to be able to play this one shot. We have a number of streams that are going to be happening later today. So Wednesday in Colorado time, where Cole's going to be continuing his Fire Emblem Three Houses run. Dain's continuing Majora's Mask later, starting the new Grand Blue Fantasy game. We have Everlast this weekend, and then we go and repeat next week with more Baldur's Gate. We have Feanor's Quest and Adventures in Middle Earth. There's a lot to look forward to, so it's gonna be sweet. We also have a sponsor here at Fantasy Forge Studios, Dain. They're a Japanese sweets and luxury treats company. They do exactly that. They offer a vast variety of Japanese sweets boxes, from popular Japanese snacks in their omakase box to the more traditional Japanese sweets in their omakase looks box, all the way to character goods and character sweets in their kawaii boxes. If you do order from them, say the Fantasy Forge sent you at checkout, it does help us out and it helps them out as well. And if you put your Twitch name, you'll get tickets towards a raffle, and that also includes if you have ordered from them before but have not given them. If you want tickets towards the raffle, which should be coming out pretty soon, we just let them know so we can know. Just message them, and I'm sure they can look up like if you've ordered a box or not. They're nice people. They'll figure it out, and then we'll get that information. You'll get raffle tickets to potentially have a free Omakase box. But with that being the case, thank you all so much for watching. As always, I will see you next week or this weekend if you're stopping by for Everlast. Again, thank you for stopping by and playing. It was a fun time, Spider. And may the road go ever onward and onward. You guys are amazing, amazing community.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys later. Bye.